Welcome everybody to the Lock-In live stream. My name is Barry Chandler. Welcome to the end of the week. These lock-ins come around faster and faster each week. We're here tonight celebrating Irish whiskey, celebrating our health, coming together and having a good time, talking about whiskey, drinking whiskey, singing a song or two. Tonight is no different. We'll be going in a few minutes live to Casements Bar in San Francisco, where Gillian Fitzgerald, co-owner of the bar, will be joining us. We're going to have some chat about whiskey, about running a pub and a bar in the current climate. And also we'll be sipping on three lovely whiskies that you see here in front of you. Green Spot Chateau Montelena, little miniature Redbreast 15, and the legendary Dark Silky. So wherever you are tuning in from, let me know what you're drinking and where you are. You put up here on the screen. Yes, share where you're drinking from. Good evening, Erin. Good evening, Charlie. Good to see you all. Tonight's a great night because we're locking in to a pub. The lock-in, of course, is a unique piece of Irish culture where, if you're very lucky, instead of opening the door at the end of the night, the owner of the bar will lock the door and lock you inside with it. That's what tonight is all about as well. So we'll be sipping on lovely whiskies and having a bit of crack and talking about Ireland, talking about Irish whiskey, and talking about what it's like running a bar in San Francisco. John Dempster is with us. Cuivino Moraku, all the way from Cork, is with us. Andrew, Paul Andrew, Chris, Erin, Kieran. Good stuff. Kieran drinking his Powers 3 Swallows in New Jersey. Cuivino's going to crack his Dark Silky cask strength. Great stuff. Tonight continues the journey that I'm on towards peated whiskey. I'm slow to the peated whiskey side of things, to the peated whiskey world. So over the next, I've been starting down that road over the past few weeks and months, and tonight we continue down that path. And I've already tried this Dark Silky earlier today, and I have strong opinions on it. I'll be sharing those later as we sip on the Dark Silky. So we'll go in a few minutes now to Gillian in San Francisco. But before we do that, make sure that you're all here and tuned in. Wayne is joining us from County Down, drinking a sample of Waterford's Ballymorgan. I got a lovely delivery of Waterford myself today with the US release of Dunbell. Edition 1.1 single farm origin that came in the door today. That's got to be opened very shortly. Ronan's on the reliable Blackbush in Killarney. Nick Valley, you're drinking a toast of Proper 12. Good to see you. Good evening to you, Ed, from 614. And Mark Smith joining us from Lake Tahoe, Nevada. He's on the Green Spot Chateau Montelena. Great stuff. Mark, that's what we'll be starting with this evening, is Green Spot Chateau Montelena. Some good Californian connections to that. Not too far. Chateau Montelena, of course, not too far from San Francisco. Bob is joining us from Virginia, having Redbreast 15. I'll be drinking Redbreast 15 myself. I got my small little miniature bottle of it there. I'm out of my full bottle, but I'll be moving on to that. Ed is sitting outside a bar in a small city in northwest Connecticut, drinking scotch. Uh-oh, we'll have to kick you out, Ed. We might give you a single pass for tonight for drinking scotch. Otherwise, it has to be Irish all the way. Looks like you've got some neighbours there in Lake Tahoe. Diarmid O'Malley joining us from New Jersey, drinking Method and Madness Chestnut. Diarmid, a great fan of the old Method and Madness. So great to have you all join us again this week. It feels like these Friday nights come around so quickly. No sooner do we close the computer, it's time to open it up again and find 3 more whiskies. Over the next few weeks, we've got some really interesting lock-ins coming from different bars and different locations. We'll give you more details about those soon, so stay tuned. And we'll be going to Casements Bar in San Francisco very shortly. We'll be talking to Gillian Fitzgerald, the owner of Casements Bar. Over the last few weeks, you may have seen that we have released our own whiskey, The Story. Pre-registration for the whiskey went live about 2 weeks ago, and in the space of 4 hours, we were completely pre-registered for all 600 bottles, 200 large bottles and 400 miniatures. The good news is that it's on a ship. It's off the coast of the Netherlands at the moment and is due to be heading across the Atlantic anytime soon. So that should hit American shores very shortly. For those of you who are going to stick around throughout the show tonight, I'll be sharing the first ever official photographs of the fully labeled bottle, The Story. We had some pictures sent to us from JJ Corrie during the week, and I'll be sharing those with you. An exclusive here, never before seen pictures of the bottle, which are really, really exciting. The bottle looks beautiful and can't wait to show those and share those with you. Tony is near Pensacola, Florida, checking in with us. Great stuff. As Chris says, the Scotch, they're just lost Irish. That's right, shipwrecked Irish. All the Scots up there started distilling, and back in the 14th century, about 50 years after the Irish started. So it stands to good reason that it was probably just shipwrecked Irish fishermen or distillers that landed on Scottish shores and decided to start distilling. That's my story anyway, and I'm sticking to it. Paul Andrews excited for the story. The story coming very soon. Coming very, very soon. Excited to get that whiskey to you all. So let me see. I think we almost are ready to go to Casements Bar. I've got some really exciting podcast news coming up. The last few weeks, we've not released an episode of the podcast as we focused on getting the story over here, getting the whiskey organized. But we'll be releasing a two-part series, or two-part historical deep dive into single pot still whiskey starting next week with the wonderful Irish whiskey historian Fionnán O'Connor. We spent some great hours with Fionnán dissecting the history of pot still whiskey, and starting next week will be episode number 1 in a two-part series on single pot still whiskey. So let me see if Gillian is ready for us in Casements Bar. She's been busy running around. It's an open bar at the moment. There's people there. It's a live bar, a live scene. So let's crash the bar, see if she can hear us. How are you?
Hi, how's it going?
Can you hear us all right? In that,
I can, yeah.
Good stuff.
Sorry, I have the face mask on. We're a working open bar at the moment, so
You're
the
grand.
first little part of this I'll have the mask on, and then when we go outside I can take it off. But
Perfect.
we've everybody working away, making fish and chips and pulling pints and the whole shebang. So
It's a working bar. Safety first.
Exactly.
Safety first. So we're live here now from Casements Bar in San Francisco. Gillian, we're going to sip on 3 whiskeys tonight.
Yeah.
Before we get into the whiskeys, I'm very curious how an Irish woman ends up in San Francisco running a bar. Where did you grow up in Ireland?
I'm originally from, and I love telling Americans this, I'm originally from a little town called Hospital, which is a town in County Limerick. I was born there. My dad is from Kerry and my mom is from Meath. And so when we were about 8 years old, we all moved up to Meath, up to Dunshaughlin, and then kind of bounced between Dunshaughlin, Tara, and Kilmessan. So we're in Tara, Kilmessan now. But yeah, it's a weird, slightly weird path to get here via the Dominican Republic. So
It's not every flight stops off in the Dominican Republic on the way to San Francisco.
My mother thinks I'm trying to get away from her. She said the furthest I can go is Australia. I'm halfway there. We'll see how it goes though.
That's it. So Casements Bar is a relatively new addition to the bar scene in San Francisco. And tell us how this idea for the bar came about, because this is not your typical Irish pub, is it?
No, definitely not. We opened in January 2020, an absolutely fantastic time in the world to open a bar. And it really is a super labor of love between the three of us here. The idea first came about, to be honest, I think 10 years ago. Myself and Sean, my business partner, who's here, he does all the work. I do all the chatting, but he's nodding at me here. We bartended together at an Irish bar that was sort of an Irish sports bar. And we'd work every Saturday night, and at the end of the night we'd sit down and have a glass of something. We probably weren't even drinking whiskey at the time, but a glass of something, and kind of start fantasizing about having our own place and what that would look like. And at the time, Sean had been living here a little while. He's a Clare man, and the economy in Ireland had completely crashed at this stage, just about 12 years ago. And I was told, sort of in no uncertain terms, just don't bother coming home, like there's no work. So it was kind of figure it out over here. And one way that we did think about trying to help at home was really simply doing things like buying like hoodies from like the surf shop that Sean would always be wearing, like a surfing hoodie from like his hometown in Clare. I'd start buying stuff from home and getting it posted over long before the evil Amazon came along. And like it sort of started from that idea of like, well, if we're all the way over here, how can we sort of show this other type of Ireland, the Ireland that we grew up in and like love to people over here who have a cookie cutter idea of what it is that doesn't really reflect how people live their lives today in Ireland. So.
Right. I mean, I know you're probably the same as me. Like when I first came to America and I'd walk into, in quotation marks, an Irish pub, and I'd look around and I'd say, I've never seen anything like this in Ireland. This doesn't feel very Irish to me.
Do you know, when I moved over here, I think about 10 years ago, the Oakland A's were playing against the Red Sox, and I had a bunch of friends from Boston, and they wanted to take me to the baseball game, thinking I wouldn't know anything about baseball, but little did they know I lived in the Dominican Republic, so I knew all about it. And they took me there and said, we're going to take you to an Irish bar, and they brought me into there's an Irish bar, I think it's actually called Irish Bar in the A's Coliseum. And we walked in the door, and there was the most generic pictures up on the wall. And there was one of like Gaelic football, and it was actually my cousin playing for Meath in it. And it was so generic, and like it just, they were like, this is an Irish bar. And I was like, no, it's not. And my cousin's on the wall. And telling you right now, it's definitely not an Irish bar, you know? So. I
know, yeah. So there's no shamrocks or shillelaghs or tricolours draped over seats or anything in Casement Bar, no?
We don't. No, we don't. We have an American also told me what a shillelagh was. I had no idea what that was either. The closest thing, I suppose, we could do a pan around in a little bit, but the people that are up on the walls we have Countess Markovich, we've two of Phil in it because we love Phil in it so much we couldn't decide which one to have. We've Keats and Yeats, we've Senator David Norris up there. We've Panty Bliss, the amazing drag queen that owns a bunch of bars in Dublin now, the Queen of Ireland. We've Father Ted up there, Packy Bonner, the Commitments. So it's more misfits than it is sort of the generic sort of idea of what people think.
And I'm putting up a picture of the bar here now on the screen for people to see.
I'm cleaning a glass. See, I do some work.
You're flying around the bar at great speed, it looks like there. Tell me, where did the name Casements Bar come from?
Yeah, so myself and Sean, both of us sort of are definitely history nerds, and sort of we would have come across him a little bit in our Irish history books. He wasn't very prominent even for kids growing up in Ireland in the 90s and early 2000s. But both of us kind of had this kind of love for this sort of this unsung hero, and you know, just because of his sexual identity, everything that he accomplished in his whole life, and many people call him the first humanitarian in the world. He truly was, like, I like to say, like, he's like, if the Dos Equis man was a real person, that's who Roger Casement was, you know, like he was an incredible man. And so we wanted to honor his legacy, and he was a misfit, and, you know, San Francisco, you know, pre and now post sort of the tech boom is a city full of misfits. So we just wanted to really just honor him and his memory, and no one, the football park up in Belfast is named after him, and there's a football team in London, but that's about it. There's nothing else really named after him, so we're lobbying over here to try and get a street named after him as well. So
that's great. Yeah. Some of these iconic figures disappear from the history books, and they get replaced by easier stories to tell than the nuanced versions of things like Roger Casement.
Yeah, and his history is like, it's not simple and it's not black and white, but he did an incredible amount of good in the Congo and in Peru before he did anything in Ireland. So like it would be a shame for him. That's him there behind me. See him there? I've got a little bust done of him.
Oh, there he is.
But it'd be such a shame for him to be lost. And I think we've seen at home in the last since the centenary for sure, that his memory is starting to be honored more, and people talk about him more, and there's images of him more as well.
Let me ask you this: how are you going to drink a whiskey through that perfect mask that you've got on? Have you a small little flap for letting in the straw?
Have you seen? There's a fella in Ireland, and he's gotten his Apple Watch like timed with his face mask, so that when he lifts his hand up, his mask goes up. Oh, that was brilliant. No, I'll have to just do a quick limp, just like that, just a little bit.
So you're not too far from Napa Valley, from California wine country in San Francisco. Green Spot, Chateau Montelena. You have that. Looks like people are drinking that fairly regularly, judging by the levels.
We actually go through. We actually in our we have a whiskey club, and that was in our higher tier. That was the whiskey of the month this month. So, yeah, we definitely it gets drank. I try and stay away from myself. Try and keep the cost down, but it's absolutely lovely stuff. Yeah.
So
I try and drink the cheaper stuff when I'm working.
Listen, you deserve the best stuff. You're not here for a long time, like, you know.
This is true.
So before I want to understand more about the starting of the bar, because you told me some great stories during the week about things you did when COVID struck, and I want to get into some of those stories. And I think we've got a musical guest at some point coming in as well to the bar.
Yeah, we have the band Polo Crosby from Cork here. He's sitting the other side of the camera.
Lovely.
He'll throw in a few tunes. He's a great man for the tunes. But
yeah, stuff.
I mean, when COVID did strike, like we didn't have the luxury of being open. We were open 6 weeks at that stage, and we were closed 2 days before St. Patrick's Day. And we had this whole calendar of events going on to where we were going to do things from as far-fetched as like a drag queen telling like kids Irish folklore story tales on a Sunday morning, a lot of whiskey tastings with Teelings, Napogue. We had the Spots. We were the brand ambassador for Redbreast and the Spots actually lives in San Francisco, and he's a dear friend and he's a wealth of knowledge. So we were delighted to have somebody like him come in, and we had live music, and we had 2 DJs, like a lot of punk music and like alternative Ulster and things like that. The other side of Ireland and St. Patrick's Day that feels more genuine to me anyway. And so we were absolutely gutted to find out we had to close, and then we just kind of went into a different gear. We had no real customer base, so we decided we had to make our own, and we just went for it. We drove a keg of Guinness around San Francisco. I copied a publican up in Belfast. He did it before me, so I won't take credit for it, but we did that.
Let's focus on that. Like, you drove a keg of Guinness around San Francisco in order to drum up business. Here, let me show a picture. You sent me a picture of this. This is gas altogether. So there's the back of a truck, and you have a keg strapped in the back, and a few pints lined up.
Yeah, well, what happened was we told like some people and regulars and stuff, and then we let one of the Eater like SF Eater, we let them know, and they ran a story on it, and it just sold out in a couple of, like, honestly, like, I think maybe by the end of the day it was sold out. And actually, if that fella there, I won't name him. If he's on here, but I poured 6 pints of Guinness for him, and I was expecting people to come down the stairs. The next thing, he sat down, and that's his second one. So he drank the whole lot of them. But people, we had some criticism about it, because people were saying, why would you not just drink it out of a can? And I said, there's a great view there. But yeah, like, there's nothing compares, there's zero comparison. And honest to God, like, it's one of the best beers to travel. If anyone wants to try and do it themselves, it worked a charm. We didn't have any spillage, and we ended up at the end of the night, we actually we brought the keg back and we had to finish it ourselves. There's 3 or 4 pints left in it, so
drain the keg. How 2 of us are in California at the moment, and we know that liquor laws and licensing laws are tough, to say the least. So were they chasing around the streets trying to figure out what you're doing?
Yeah, they were. Well, what happened was somebody called in the ABC, the Alcoholic Bureau, and so when that happened, we got basically a cease and desist. So we desisted and we ceased, and we finished the orders off by just giving people bottles of Guinness and giving them their money back. But it was worth it. It was an absolute blast. It was a logistics nightmare. I think we did, Sierra, what did we do? Like 20 stops, maybe 30 stops in one day. And San Francisco, I think if you saw on the pictures there, my friend gave me a lend. This is where American words and Irish words get confused. I asked her for a lend of a Jeep, thinking like she would think like Jeep, like small. And then I was like, oh, maybe she'll give me like a Wrangler, but it was one of those extra long Tundras. So I drove that around the mean, tiny street, some very, very small side alleys of San Francisco, one-way streets, and I could be a taxi driver at this stage.
But when the thirst takes you, like, you know, when you know people are thirsty,
You
you'll go
gotta
to all
go.
kinds of lengths to deliver the Guinness.
Exactly. So it was really it was a lovely date actually, because it was in late April that we did it, and we cheers.
Slaunch, by the way, yes. Listen, we're drinking Green Spot Chateau Montelena, which has great California connections, great Irish American connections. This is the Green Spot that you know and love, but it's finished for a period of time in a Zinfandel cask from the Chateau Montelena winery in California, and that is in Calistoga in Napa Valley, not a million miles away from where you are. Have you ever been up to Chateau Montelena, Gillian?
I haven't been up to Montelena. I actually sent Dominic an email the other week about going up. At the moment, things are tough up there, so once hopefully things clear up a little bit, I'll head up. But yeah, we go up to Calistoga an awful lot. I'm sure you're aware, San Francisco, it could be 18 or 17 or 15 degrees here in July, and it's 32, 33 degrees up in Calistoga as soon as you get over the bridge.
Hence the fires.
Yeah, but the fires right now are, it's no joke. So we're always thinking about them up there. They're hardworking people and they're going through it big time.
Chateau Montelena has great Irish connections too. Great history to the winery. It put Napa Valley on the map with their Chardonnay at the great wine in Paris. Yeah, the Expo in Paris, where an American wine for the first time was chosen as one of the greatest wines in the world, and it really put Napa on the map, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I think that's the American dream right there. It's kind of like make it and then get one over on the French. Like, it's like they really did it. So it and you know, at that time Napa was just farmers, and there's no airs or graces about anybody up in Napa at that time, and like it really was just people with great palates and like hardworking farmers that like figured out the right profile and made a Chardonnay that people had to be aware of, you know. So they've gone on and they've done like amazing stuff. Like this is a Zin. I've drank a lot of their wine over the years. It's really phenomenal stuff, and like the care that goes into everything up in Saint Helena, Calistoga, it's incredible. It's not just Napa, you know. It's like they really do serious stuff up there. Napa
so this is one of two green spots that are on the market right now. They're finished in wine casks. The other is Chateau Léoville Barton from France, and this one is Zinfandel. The other is Cabernet Sauvignon, I believe.
So. We haven't been able to get it here, unfortunately.
Is that right?
Yeah.
But this one is, for those of you who are wine drinkers, there's a lovely pink hue to this, and there's a lovely impartation of that wine flavor. There's almost like the tannins and a tiny little hint of sweetness, but it's not too sweet. It's just there's a lovely little hint of the sweetness there coming through on that layers over that lovely crisp green apple fruits of a green spot.
It's fantastic. It's like, I mean, I don't know, maybe don't want to move all the stuff around, but I have, 50 bottles back there, and it's hard to choose which ones to talk about and which ones to highlight, but it's, the way that whiskey is going in Ireland is just so exciting. It's like, it's far more exciting than any other market out there at the moment of any other spirit even, I think, so. And
you're focused on stocking a lot of the smaller independent brands as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I have family that work for Jameson, and like, Middleton's a great place, and Green Spot and Redbreast and everything is from there, and they make amazing stuff. But it's really good to allow people and the opportunity to like expand their palates and understand that it's not just Jameson anymore. Jameson is lovely, and I love Jameson, but it's not just Jameson. And I feel like there's the insurgence of things in the last 15 years. We're just now starting to see incredible stuff. I was home in February, and I was down with the men over at Bertha's Revenge, and we obviously went to Middleton, and we were down in Dingle with the Bowled Mary, and Mary. Oh, she's a great one. But like when we were down there, like we got to taste stuff off the stills that like, they're like what Silky is doing with like Great Northern and everything. It's like you're starting to pull into the sort of like Northern Irish Belfast, like smoky category, and it doesn't have to be these. Like I'm very involved with mezcal as well, and like people have this idea of what mezcal is, and it's like it has to be this smoke bomb, and I don't think that's not true. Like it can be many different things, and I feel the same way about Irish whiskey. Doesn't have to be this sweet butterball, and it's not, and it can also have a ton of smoke or a little bit of smoke, and it's about finding what's right for you, you know.
What do you find people order the most? Let's put Jameson aside as just being the thing that's going to get called for because it's so known. But outside of Jameson, what are the popular whiskies at Casements?
Well, in the 6 weeks that we were open, we actually didn't go through very much Jameson. Jameson definitely was, people would order it for shots and stuff. But Teelings have a nice little a group of people that enjoy it here. Definitely the spots, and then a lot of it is, you know, education of our staff, and them finding, like, I always try and encourage people when they're working to find 1 or 2 bottles of something that they really like, and then, you know, have like the confidence to talk about it to the guests, and you know, realize what they like and go from there. But I think the spots, we've no red spot left. It's impossible. It's all gone. And we definitely went through a lot of it here, luckily. A lot of the spots, a lot of Redbreast, and a good bit of the West Cork as well, because we've a link there as well. Yeah, they're good. They're great lads. I want to talk more later about your cocktails because I love a good Irish whiskey cocktail. I love a good cocktail, and you're doing great things, kind of in a progressive way with Irish whiskey and cocktails, which we'll talk about. We're going to try and do something very ambitious tonight, where we're going to do some kind of moving cameras. We've got a multi-camera setup. We're going to go to the musician next, are we? What's his name? This is Polo. Polo, you ready? Polo's sipping on a little Chateau Montelena as well.
Fair play.
Sean, would you be able to? What we're gonna do is we're just gonna move from this camera phone to the. We're gonna put it on the laptop and bring it closer over. Okay?
When you're set up on the laptop, I'll switch over the cameras. So this is very advanced, like outdoor broadcast units for a big television station here.
Yeah, we're ready.
Let me see
Come
now.
in number 5. You're tight. Yeah.
Come in number 5.
Oh. Does that work?
There we go. Right, I'm going to put your camera on mute, and I'm going to switch over there and move as close as you can to the musician so we can hear him. There we go. Lovely. Right.
I can't tell. Oh, there you go.
Now, here we are.
How are you doing?
How are you getting on? Are you another Cork man, is it?
Another Cork man. Yeah, I'm originally from Kinsale. So.
Oh, very good. Only across the harbour from me.
I feel like a bit of a Western bandit here, Barry. Do you know? I don't think I've sang before with a mask over my mouth. So this could be an interesting one.
It's the most creative way to hold up a bar ever. Like,
I have had the chance to sample some of Jill's excellent whiskies, and here at Casements as well, where I'm a regular. She does have definitely one of the best selections in the city, certainly in San Francisco. So I think hopefully when things clear up, we might get you up here at some point.
You'll have to. You try and stop me. What brought you over? What brought you over from Cork?
Here, Barry, but
probably have trouble hearing me, do you?
You guys can hear me okay anyway, right?
Yeah, we can hear you okay.
Oh. Yeah. Well, this one goes out to. I was fortunate enough in the last few months, Barry, to spend some time in Ireland, and I was in Kinmare, County Kerry for a few months, and 2 great friends of mine, Joe and Claire Thoma in Kinmare, put me in touch with some great old American music, actually, from quite a while ago. John Prine, who's just a fantastic songwriter and musician, and I want to dedicate this one to Joe and Claire in Kinmare. Thanks for putting me back in touch with some old John Prine songs. Get this in tune first. I am an old woman named after my mother. My old man is another child that's grown old. His dreams were lightning, thunder, desire. This old house would have burned down a long time ago. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me something I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go. When I was a young girl, had me a cowboy. He weren't much to look at, he's just a free rambling man. The time it rolls by goes on so slowly. The years, they just roll on, it's like a broken down train. Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me something I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go. There's flies in the kitchen, I can hear them, they're buzzing. And I ain't done nothing since I woke up today. How the hell can a person go to bed in the morning, come home in the evening, and have nothing to say? Make me an angel that flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me something I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go.
Brilliant stuff. Brilliant stuff.
Spelling.
Cheers, Polo. Let me switch back here to bring Gillian in. There we go.
Hello.
Polo knocking it out of the park.
He knocked it so much out of the park that I poured him a pint.
You poured him a pint. He deserves a pint after that song. If everyone in the audience give Polo a round of applause there. Man from Cork. You don't find many men from Cork with the name of Polo Crosby.
Yeah, he was my upstairs neighbor, and so he's an avid guitar player, and he's 5 or 6 different guitars. So I'd wake up in the morning and hear him before he goes off to work, and then it's lovely. I was banging on the ceiling saying, "Turn it up, play a different one, will you? Turn it up."
Do you take requests up there? Do you?
He does. Yeah, he did take requests. I shouted a couple of them at him a few times.
Great response from everybody, loving the tunes. Mr. Dave Barber, buddy in Columbus, says well played, Polo. Bula Bus from Diarmid O'Malley up in New Jersey. Lots of woos and woots and claps coming in for Polo. Great stuff. Gillian, are you able to take us on a little tour out towards the back of the pub, out where you can free yourself of the mask?
Let's try. Let's see what
Let's
happens.
try this. All right. While you're moving there, I'll talk a little bit about the whiskey.
Okie doke.
And when you're set up, we'll bring you back in. So we are coming live from Casements Bar. I'm in San Diego. They're in San Francisco. And Gillian Fitzgerald is the co-owner of Casements Bar. They're doing really interesting things with cocktails and a really progressive Irish bar that heroes, maybe some of the obscure, maybe less remembered figures in Irish history as well, which is lovely to see. So we're going to be spending the evening at Casements. More music, more drinks, more pints on the way. Gillian's going to get set up out the back where they have a bit of a beer garden. And while she does that, we're going to keep sipping on our whiskies. So yeah, the first one we opened up tonight is Green Spot, Chateau Montelena. Many of you are familiar with the Spot range of whiskies. For those of you that aren't, the Spot range of whiskies is a storied, historic range of whiskies from Ireland, originally a Dublin brand belonging to the Mitchell and Son family. And on every bottle of Green Spot, you'll see at the very bottom of the label, you'll see the name Mitchell and Son. Every bottle of Green Spot, Yellow Spot, Red Spot includes their name. Why does it include their name when it's produced in the Middleton distillery today? Well, the Mitchell family were what are known as whiskey bonders. They were wine and spirit merchants. They still are to this day. There has been a Jonathan Mitchell running the Mitchell and Son wine merchants and wine store for 200 years. And back in the 1800s, Mitchell family found themselves with many empty barrels from wine and port and sherry after they imported them into Ireland, filled up their bottles, sold them on to groceries and hotels and restaurants, etc. And when they were done with that, they took their barrels over to the Jameson distillery, where they had them filled up with pot still whiskey. And they were brought back and then stored under their own cellars, under the streets of Dublin, in their own cellars, underneath their store and in other areas around Dublin. And over time, their cellars grew and grew and filled up with barrels of whiskey that were maturing in ex-wine casks, ex-sherry barrels, ex-fortified wine barrels that had been brought in from mainland Europe. And to identify the barrels at a time when most Irish would have been illiterate, certainly in the working class Irish who were working in the cellars would have had trouble reading and identifying numbers. So to help them understand or to mark the barrels so that people would know whether it's supposed to be aged for 7 years or 10 years or 12 years or 15 years, the Mitchell family gave the workers in the cellar different coloured buckets of paint. So they had a bucket of green paint. And if the whiskey was to be aged for, in the case of Green Spot, approximately 8 to 10 years, then they put a spot of green paint on the head of the barrel, which was lying on its side. If the whiskey was going to be aged for 12 years, they put a spot of yellow paint on it, and red for 15 years. And that allowed them to quickly identify the different barrels that were aging in the cellars. And I had a podcast interview on Stories and Sips not too long ago with Jonathan Mitchell, the current patriarch of the family and of the business. And he shared stories of being a child running around the cellars in Dublin and seeing all of these barrels lying on their side with the spots on the heads of the barrels, which is a fascinating interview and a bit of Irish whiskey history for those of you who are interested in such a thing. There's rumours of another Spot whiskey on the way. We have seen nothing yet, but as soon as we do hear something, we'll let you know. But in any case, the Spot range of whiskies is a legendary, historic kind of part of Irish whiskey history. And today it is made on license at the Middleton Distillery in County Cork. So the Mitchell and Son own the brand and they license it out, and they are the distributors in Ireland of the Spot range of whiskies. But it's great to see more of them making their way across America. Even in Ohio, the entire range of Spot whiskies is available, and you're seeing them in more and more places. So that's really good news. I love the wine finishes. It took me a while to understand them and get into them, but between the Chateau Montelena and the Chateau or the Chateau Léval Barton from France, it's been a real joy to experience this collaboration between wine and whiskey. And each of these wineries has Irish ties and Irish connections. So you're looking at this Irish-French connection, Irish-American connection. So lovely story to back up a lovely whiskey. So do check out that podcast with Jonathan Mitchell if you get the chance. Paul says that bottle certainly wasn't open tonight. What makes you think that? No, it was open at breakfast time, and I had a lovely porridge and Green Spot for breakfast this morning. Now this has been open a while, all right. Conor Ryan, well used to hearing Polo in Kinsale with his band King K. Great surprise to see him on the show. We'll be hearing more from Polo once we bring them back on a little bit. Gillian is busy. We're crashing an open bar, and God love her, she's trying to keep the lights on in the bar while chatting with us. It's a terrible time for pub owners around the world, but she's obviously the bar is open, they're trying to serve, but they're also trying to get the word out through the lock-in of what they're doing, and they're doing really great things there. And we're going to share more of like their subscription services and how they're shipping whiskey and gift boxes around California and further afield. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But that's funny, Connor. Now, a Kinsale man yourself, that you're used to hearing Polo and his band King K. I'm sure he'd be delighted to hear that. All right, Gillian's back with us. There she is.
Unfortunately, the Wi-Fi is just not strong enough. So
you're grand. You're grand. Do you tell Polo that Conor Ryan in Kinsale from the Folk House in Kinsale is well used to hearing his tunes?
Hey Conor, how you doing?
Small world, isn't it?
Yeah. I want to introduce you to Sean here. This is a business partner, Sean O'Donovan.
How are you, Sean?
Doing very well. Thanks for having us on.
Thanks for joining us. I know you're busy trying to keep the lights on and pour pints and bring in a few pennies, but thanks for joining us tonight.
We don't need the lights.
No lights.
Get that.
Forget the lights. We don't need them. How are things going for you? Are you enjoying running a pub despite the pandemic?
It's been a crazy experience. As the year has progressed, we've adapted and changed so many things here. So we obviously the plan was to run it as a pub and a bar. Then when COVID hit, we started running it as a store.
Yeah.
Then we were doing delivery and to go. Now we're more of a restaurant. So it's been a up and down and crazy learning experience. So there's definitely been some wonderful times and obviously some rougher times as well.
I know. Well, hopefully, once the world opens up a little bit more, you'll have an audience here who'll be clamoring to get in and taste some of those cocktails and drink some of those pints of Guinness, even if you're not serving them out of the back of a car. Especially if you're not serving them out of the back of the car.
I highly recommend it, though.
Those were
I'm sure you do.
They're really good pints, seriously.
So tell me, are you going to give us? Where are you now? Are you out the back? Are you in the?
No, we're not. Unfortunately, I've mastered the technology. Hang on. Just kidding.
You're doing great. I can see you well there.
There we go. So we're now in the bar still. Sorry, the Wi-Fi, as you can imagine, we paid for Wi-Fi for the bar, and then we created a back patio. Maybe you have some photos of it that you could show, but
I do.
We have, this is the how we're set up at the moment. We're allowed to have 25% capacity in the bar. So we've kind of moved tables. So we're allowed to have 12 people inside at a time.
I
basically.
see.
But
Okay.
but the weather at the moment, we're very lucky. We're able to just kind of have everybody outside, thankfully. And we have a few lads from Kilkenny out drinking pints of Guinness on the patio. They were excited, but they'll have to wait because we can't we can't reach them back there with the Wi-Fi.
No bother. You look like you're angling poor Polo up there for another tune. He doesn't know what hit him with all the requests that are going to come in now in a minute.
All right.
We never told you that we're going to ask you for requests, but Polo, have you have you a special tune or a favorite tune that you like to play while you're sipping on a drop of whiskey?
Yeah, sure thing, Barry. I think this one is an old, or I guess was made famous by Planksty years ago. A great old song. It was originally by Norman Blake, who's from Tennessee, but kind of a good mix of an American Irish song. So I figured it'd be a good one to play. Billy Gray rode into Gantry way back in '83. There he first met the young Sarah McRae. The wild rose of morning, the pale flower of dawning, heralded a springtime in Billy's life that day. Sarah, she could not see the daylight of reality. In her young eyes, Billy bore not a flaw. No, not her chosen one, he was a hired gun, wanted in Kansas City by Then one day a tall man came riding from the Badlands that lie to the north of New Mexico. He was overheard to say he was looking for Billy Gray, a wanted man and a dangerous outlaw. Well, the news it came creeping to Billy, who lay sleeping there in the Clarendon Bar and Hotel. He ran to an old church that lies on the outskirts, thinking that he'd hide in an old steeple bell. But a rifle ball came flying and Billy lay dying there on the ground, on the dust where he lay. Sarah ran to him, she was cursing out that woman, knowing not the reasons, only that Billy would slay. Sarah still lives in that old wood frame house where she first met Billy some 40 years before. But the wild rose of morning has faded with the dawning of each day of sorrow, the long years of bloom. Written on an old stone where the dusty winds have long blown, 18 words to the passers-by they say. True love knows no season, no rhyme nor no reason, justice as cold as the Granger County clay. True love knows no season, no rhyme nor no reason, justice as cold as the Granger County clay.
Ew!
Beautiful, beautiful.
Come on, Polo.
Lovely stuff altogether.
He's a credit to his parish, his county, and his country.
He really is. I mean, Cork now is lost without both me and Polo. They're like, I don't know how that county can continue, to be quite honest.
What's that great Tommy Turner joke? It's like, I'm the president of Ireland, but more importantly, I'm from Cork.
That's it. What does he say? The holy mortifying shame if the president of Ireland was from Cork.
Oh, God. That's great.
Everyone's loving Polo, loving the tunes. Also, I want to say hello to Tim Murphy in Cove in County Cork, buddy of mine who's tuned in. Glad you're tuned in, Tim. I'm sure I'll see you at some point in the future. Good to have you joining us. Tim grew up near me in Cove, so great that you're here. I know that we have on the in the audience at the moment, we have the owner of Sleeve League Distillers, James Doherty, who are producing the dark silky whiskey. And I know how late it is in Ireland. So I think that before we get to the Redbreast, why don't we try a drop of the dark silky? What do you think?
That sounds great. Let's do that. I thought you were putting it strong. Sorry. I love that. So there's so much perfection. Our server was like, I thought they were putting a straw into the Guinness. They were just fixing the top of the head of the pint. Yeah, kind of a glass.
You have a lovely looking pint of Guinness, to be fair to you.
Yeah, hang on. Let's have a, there's two of them.
Oh, look at that. Go in close there on those creamy pints. We have to see them.
That's KB, our server. And then that's Drew.
Lovely.
Who's here too. Yeah, we're so lucky to have a great staff. Go back to the heads of the pint of Guinness there. We barely saw them. Oh, sorry.
We were too busy showing us the bowl of fruit. That's lovely. That looks very creamy.
Zoom in. There we go.
Oh, look at that. You'd rest a match. You'd rest a match in the head.
My dad would be happy with those.
Those are.
Oh, thank you.
Those are pints to be proud of, to be fair
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah, well, we the silky here. We're very lucky. We were told we were the first. Sorry, I'm doing the wrong thing. We were told we were the first account to have it in America, so we're very proud of that fact.
The first account. That's unreal.
We were the first people to have it. But maybe they told that to everyone, but I don't think so.
I've heard that now from 15 different bars.
Oh, really? Well, sure.
No, I'm just joking. No.
That's the Irish way. If it sells it, sure. No, but we absolutely love it, and our staff here love it and recommend it all the time. And we sell it by the bottle and by the dram. So
let's talk about this. What we have here. So for those of you who are not familiar, Ireland is increasingly moving towards, well, I'm not saying moving towards, there are more peated Irish whiskies coming out of Ireland than ever before. 3, 4, 5 years ago, you'd have found one Irish whiskey, which was Connemara, the peated Irish whiskey. But today, more and more. And Slieve League Distillers, we had James Doherty on the podcast a few weeks ago. Great chat, a great understanding of what he's trying to do up in Donegal. The legendary Dark Silky and the legendary Silky are two whiskies that they've released while they're in the process of building their new Irish whiskey distillery in Donegal. And I'm on a peated whiskey journey. I was not won over when I started drinking.
I'm the same. Yeah.
I couldn't get to it. And so I've been bringing on people onto the live stream and onto the podcast to help me understand peated whiskey a bit more. Mrs. Stories is a big peated whiskey fan. She loves it, but I'm slow to understand it and to appreciate it. And so I've been working my way through it. We're now at this point where we're drinking this legendary Dark Silky, which is getting rave reviews from those who know their whiskies and know peated whiskey in Ireland. So I thought maybe it's about time I cracked into this. You're on a bit of a peated journey yourself?
I'm on the journey too. I feel the exact same way. I think that my whiskey memories and stuff are very new whiskey memories. They're only when I was in my 20s. So I didn't grow up drinking Irish, or I didn't go up drinking whiskey at all. And the Scotch and that's what you think of when you think of smoky whiskey, you think of Scotch. So it has taken me a while to get around to it. But I tell you what, this is a really great place this is a great one to win people over. And we definitely have, I'm just looking on the shelf here. I have 2 Japanese whiskeys and 3 Scotches. I have about 10 American, and then everything else is Irish. So if people, we have the Macallan and Tomatine, and if they don't like that, then they're out of luck. If they want something that's not Irish, but we push them to these, and then they're like, oh my God, I love this. So, and equally so, somebody like me who's on the journey. So it's great to have something, and at a really great price point as well. I think that's really important as well.
This was $39.99, which is incredible.
We sell it for 38, but it's fine.
Oh, I should have gone up to San Francisco. I went to a small little obscure tequila retailer in San Diego to find this. I couldn't find it anywhere else, believe it or not. And the tequila and mezcal shop was stocking the legendary Dark Silky. So James Doherty logging in to confirm that Gillian was in fact the first to stock Dark Silky in America.
We did it. We won.
You did it. And it looks like there's some decent chunk taken out of that bottle too that you have there.
Oh, we bought 2 cases of each of them, and we're well into the second case for each one there. Yeah, no, we're fine through it.
So let's take a sip of it. Sláinte to you.
Sláinte. Cheers.
Sláinte to James and Moira in Donegal as well. So on the nose now, this is unmistakable smoke that you get with obviously a smoky peated whiskey. But there's something else behind this peat and the smoke on the nose that I maybe haven't got up to now. And there's a richness, there's a oily sweetness behind the smoke.
Yeah.
Some smoky whiskies that I've nosed in my amateur nosing of smoky whiskies have put me off getting to the tasting piece because it's just been too almost
like a bog.
A bog and a kind of a slap in the face of smoke. But this one now is very different, I have to be honest.
Yeah, I think like with I think I keep going to mezcal a lot, but there's, in like regional, the way Scotland is broken up into different regions, and like mezcal production is like highlands and something like tequila, highlands and lowlands and different parts. And like you can taste sometimes you can just taste that through it, and like this is just
Have a sip.
so approachable and. Oh, I love Powers. Sorry, Mark Smith.
Mark's gone to the Powers John's Lane.
Lovely. But
There-
this is so good.
It's different. It's very different. This is different to the other peated whiskies now I've tried on the journey. And I texted a peated whiskey fan in Ireland last night, and I said there's a sweetness behind the smoke that is it doesn't exist in any of the other whiskies. The other whiskies I found the smoke to be overpowering and quite
Just
dry.
lingers too long. Yeah.
Whereas there's a lush richness to this.
Well, it finishes like an Irish whiskey, you know, like that's.
Mm-hmm.
Or like a Four Roses, or like a.
We're not allowed to mention non-Irish whiskies on the live stream.
Sorry.
Like you're going to be kicked out. Like it's we're very strict about it. No, I'm just joking.
It's a nice pub, not a nightclub. Out you get.
That's it. Beautiful sweetness. So I mentioned on Twitter there during today that I had kind of strong opinions about the legendary dark silky, and the strong opinions are fairly simple. This is my favorite peated whiskey that I've yet tried from Ireland. There's a beautiful sweetness. There's a ginger, a raisin, a plum, fruit. Mrs. Stories and Sips looking like she's as thirsty. Will you bring me over a glass there, love? We'll give you a drop.
Jeez, I thought you would have poured her one first. What's
As if
that
we're like
about?
doling out whiskey by the drop, rationing it here. We'll give her more than a drop.
I'll send you down a bottle.
She's happy now. Big smile across her face. There's a lovely lush sweetness that just lingers on the palate, and it almost replaces the smoke. So you get the smoke and the peat up front, and then as it goes down the length of it is just a lovely sweetness, and the smoke tapers off. So the strong opinion is just that. Like I'm absolutely won over by this whiskey.
Well, I think sometimes like you have like, especially when you smell something, you have this sort of like, not even nostalgia, but you're like, oh, I'm supposed to drink this in front of a fireplace when it's cold, or I'm supposed to, and I don't get that with this. I just get this, I could make a cocktail out of this. Like, this is like, it's really balanced and really like, it works in every which department. It's great.
It does. And a great sign, hopefully, of things to come out of Sleeve League and what James and Moyer are doing.
Excited, yeah. I listened to the podcast that you did with them, and they've followed up, and like it's really nice to have been dealing with new and emerging companies, you know, from home, and like it's really easy to get lost in a portfolio here, and like to see they have a really strong team, and they have a team of people, like they know what they're doing and they know how not to get lost. So that's like, I'm really rooting for them. I think they have a great product, and I'm excited to see what comes out of the stills, and I'm excited to get up there. I've actually never been to Donegal in my life.
Is that right?
No.
It's a long trek to get to Donegal, but they tell me it's worth it.
Oh, I well believe it's worth it, yeah.
James has said that smoke is just one of the flavors, and Gillian's right. The virgin grain is a generous, round sweetness. So what we have here per the label is it's a smoky blend made from double distilled and triple distilled peated single malts with some soft grain whiskey as well. A very unusual blend, and I don't think there's a similar blend like it in Ireland.
No, I mean that's like that. I mean I think that's like the beauty of Irish whiskey in comparison to Scotch and American. There's so many rules, and at least we have. It needs to rest in wood. Like there's not like there's a specific time, and then that's kind of it. And so we have all these people who have traveled the world, who've, you know, worked in Japan and in China and in America and Australia, and learned all about different grape varietals, different corns, different mashes, different builds. And they brought all this home, and the scientists are there. Those with scientific minds are there to like create different blends, and those with artistic minds are there to create different, you know, marketing and labeling. And like, I think it's just amazing. Like I'm genuinely wouldn't have opened this bar if I didn't think that in the next 10 years, our Irish whiskey would be definitely breathing down the necks of Scotch and so forth.
And for to understand, I believe the figures that COVID and pandemic aside, Ireland was on a trajectory to Irish whiskey to overtake Scotch by volume within a few years.
Yeah.
That would be one heck of a party in Casements that night.
Oh,
once that threshold is crossed.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we cannot wait. We cannot wait.
Lovely balance to the whiskey, to this dark silky. Maybe one of the first of the peated whiskies that I'd find myself coming back to now, and I'd love to try this in a cocktail. How would you balance this with other ingredients in a cocktail, Gillian?
I think with the smoke, I play into the smoke a little bit, but I definitely a little bit is like I would build it like an old fashioned, a sazerac maybe. I had a cocktail that I made a while ago that I think would work really well with this. Yeah, it would be like almost like a sazerac, so just like in lieu of the rye, putting that in there, and maybe some chartreuse, and a little bit of Peychaud's bitters, a little bit of sugar, orange and lemon rind. You're away in a hack.
Do you put absinthe into your sazeracs, or would you use like a Pernod or anything like that?
We use a local absinthe here. So St. George Spirits over in Alameda make one, and that's that's kind of our house absinthe that we will use. The sazerac is such an old cocktail that there's like absinthe wasn't the first thing that was in it. It was French brandy and Peychaud's and Herb Saint, was before absinthe. So, it's not really open to, to interpretation, but like everything in San Francisco, it kind of is. We sort of, New York and San Francisco, we make our old fashions the way we make them. We make our margaritas the Tommy style. We kind of do our own thing a little bit. So
you have a fairly extensive cocktail list and a fairly unusual cocktail list. I have a few pictures here. Tell us about your cocktail program. How is Irish whiskey a component of that?
Yeah. So what we tried to do was, I think this is probably the 8th or 9th cocktail program I put together, and as I've gotten older and as I've been exposed to more things, my taste profile has changed a lot. And so now my taste, and I'm 36, so my taste buds have kind of gone like a little bit more into briny, vinegary, like acidy rather than sugary. And so the whole menu is supposed to be kind of what grows together goes together. So that picture that you have there in front of you is a mezcal cocktail that we make with strawberry and peas. So basically, when you plant strawberries, you plant peas next to them. They both help each other out. So the flavors, automatically just help each other out. And so, it's a good one. Basically, I made like a strawberry citric acid shrub. So a shrub is like drinking vinegar. With I made a pea simple syrup with them and I put them together, and I added a little bit of fresh lime juice and some delicious Yola mezcal. And then we've made this cocktail that, like, outside of a margarita, it's our second biggest cocktail after our sour and old fashioned, but people drink it and they'll drink 7 or 8 of them. It goes down as easy as a margarita would. And so on that kind of train, it's sort of a journey of different life experiences. And I lived in the Dominican Republic for a few years, and I wouldn't be known for being on time to things. So we do a cocktail called Running on Island Time. So that's a mix of poitín. So we use Glendalough poitín with shillelagh, which is a Dominican Republic liqueur made from passion fruit. And it's like, genuinely, it's the best liqueur I've ever tasted in my entire life. It is hands down, just smells like the Dominican Republic. It's incredible. And then I made a lemon and honey curd that my mom used to put in a pavlova. We add some organic cava bubbles to it. So it's kind of like a gin fizz, but it's with a little Irish mammy and Dominican twist to it.
How long have you been in the United States now, Gillian?
I've been here almost 12 years, I think. I've lost count after 3 months.
Neither of us have lost the accent. Is it because it's, I don't know about you, but for me, it's, if I lose the accent, people will realize I have nothing to back it up. You're far more educated and creative than I am, but you've still kept the accent.
I know when I have it and I know when I don't. Like if I'm in a group if I'm in a busy bar on a Saturday night, I do not have an accent because I have no time for people asking me, oh, my great grandfather's from Cork or whatever. So I have a very American accent on a Saturday night at 10 o'clock. Yeah. And then
that's very impressive.
I think as I'm when I'm comfortable with somebody, I have my own accent. And then if I don't know the person, I kind of definitely have a bit more of an American twang, but it's there for sure sometimes.
It sounds like the equivalent, you putting on an accent is the equivalent of, like, I used to work in a nightclub, in a bar, in a hotel, the Commodore Hotel in Cove, and the nightclub, I don't know if you know the Commodore at all, but the nightclub was the heart of the town, and on a weekend you'd be 10 deep at the bar, and if I was working in the restaurant before it, and you'd have your name badge on, you'd like your little brass nameplate on from the restaurant, and as soon as you got down to the nightclub, you took off the name tag and you threw it away for fear people would be shouting your name and trying to get your attention when it's 10 deep. That sounds like your equivalent, changing the accent for fear they might say, oh, do you know my Uncle John who lives in Kilmacud?
Oh yeah. I mean when you're 10 deep over here and I was involved with another bar a couple of years ago called Virgil's Sea Room, and it's a brilliant little bar. This is 2351 Mission Street. And Virgil's is 3251 Mission Street, which is crazy and serendipitous. But New Year's Eve one year, a fella was in there, not the nicest man I've ever met. And we were 10 deep. And he actually hit one of my bartenders on the head with money and was like, I have cash.
Oh, my God.
And also I can hear myself going into a Cork accent because I'm talking to you. And
go on, girl. Go deep into the Cork accent, right? You'd be grand, like.
Do you know what he did then? Like, no. So
how you getting that?
He hit her on the head with money, and he's like, "I have cash," and I was like, "Whoa!" And I stopped everybody in their tracks, like stopped everybody that was working. And I was like, "Do you see that guy? He's got money. It's a cash only bar." And I said, "Do you know what you can do now?" I said, "You can leave." And he's like, "I'll speak to your manager." And I said, that was the one only time in my whole life I did it, but I was like, I am the manager, but here. So yeah, I don't know how I go home when I'm at home and I'm in a busy night. Well, I haven't been in a busy nightclub in Ireland for a few years, but when I was younger, I just used to give all the bartenders all my money. I'd be like, I'm so sorry, this looks so stressful. Everyone's shouting the roar, and because they know everyone knows each other, so they think they give priority.
Who do I make a check out to? Let me write a check for what I owe you.
Yeah. Unreal.
What has been the biggest change for you, the biggest shift? I mean, look, you're far removed from Ireland in terms of years, but to be hard to remove the heart from Ireland, there's obviously things you miss, and you can't say the family because that's the obvious answer.
Oh yeah.
But is it food? Is it drink?
Obvious,
like, yeah.
I think this sounds like, and I'll be killed for this. Actually, I'm from the Hill of Tara, which is, I'll do a bad job of this now. Let me see if I can. There she is up there. And it's, middle of nowhere, and it's green and it's gorgeous. And I miss Dublin. I miss, we did a band here playing last night. Teelings are doing a night with us on Thursdays. And two of the lads are from Dublin, and they played Dublin in the Rare Old Times. And I started crying, and I was just like, I miss going down Grafton Street, and I miss the banter. I miss like how smart any person that you meet, like a taxi driver, a bus driver, or whatever, just like the back and forth that you can have with someone that you don't know. And it looks, if you don't know what's going on, it kind of looks like you're giving out to each other. But,
I know. Pure Irish.
I think I missed up. I don't know. I miss that sort of. I think that's what I really miss.
The real crack, like. Yeah.
And like sort of super harmless and super like jovial. Like it could be like we on Grafton Street. I always get my mom flowers from. There's a women that sell flowers across from Brown Thomas. On the street, and I'd always stop on the way back to the house to get some flowers for mom, and there's two women there, and I live for going to see them, because the last time I was there was there was some tourists from, they're probably Canadian. I'm going to say they were Canadian. And they were like, oh my God, you grow all these in your backyard. And the woman, without missing a beat, just said, oh yeah, definitely, yeah, they all grow in my backyard. And turned around to me and said, do you think I'd be slinging flowers if I had a garden big enough to grow all these? And they're from Amsterdam. And then in the same, then turned the head again and took the money off the lady, and everybody was happy. And,
I know.
Like, you don't get that anywhere else in the world. It's nothing to do with America. You don't get that anywhere else in the world. Like,
you don't. I'd miss that bit of crack as well. If you're just joining us, we're here with Gillian Fitzgerald, co-owner of Casements Bar in San Francisco, who's been kind enough to interrupt the middle of service to give us some chats and a bit of scale and a bit of crack and a bit of Kjol. And we might go back in a minute to Polo if he's around. But in the meantime, I'm sipping. Yeah, I'd say he's not. He doesn't have a bottle of Redbreast in front of him. He looked very happy.
He does have a bottle of Redbreast.
I spotted it, yeah. Need the glass and everything. He was like an advert for Redbreast there with him sitting there. We're drinking at the moment the legendary Dark Silky from Sleeve League Distillers, a lovely peated whiskey. And you've heard me grimace and you've seen me grimace at the thought of a peated whiskey. And you may have recognized I poured my second one here now. And I'm on to my second peated whiskey of the evening. Second drop out of the legendary Dark Silky. James reckons that I should put in, who is the founder, together with his wife Moira, of Sleeve League Distillers. He reckons I should put in a drop of ice, maybe even a bit of water.
I'll have a drop of ice there in mine.
Let me see if I can ask Mrs. Story. Ice. Thanks.
Perfect. As they say up here in close to wine country, I'd like to revisit that bottle.
I'd like to revisit it. I didn't have a long enough visit. Maybe like half the cube or something.
That's how they give you a free sample.
That's it. I have to revisit it. Actually, I have a picture here. Let me find something that was shared on Twitter today to do with the legendary Dark Silky. Let me see if I can pull this up and I'll show it. I'll send it to my computer because this was very funny altogether. So I mentioned I was tasting the Dark Silky. Let me find this here now. And there's great talk about the Dark Silky happening in Ireland altogether. Where is this lovely one here now? Here it is. I'm going to send this to my computer now. What are your hours at the moment, Gillian? Are you open all week or is it just near the weekends?
So no, we're open 7 days a week at the moment. 7 days a week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we're open from 4 to 10. And then the ABC are kind of changing the rules and laws around how long we can be open for. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we're open from 2 till hopefully midnight. And then Sunday, we're open 2 to 10. But, we're busy on Fridays, probably about 7 o'clock. It kind of gets very, very busy. But it's been a real struggle. We've basically doubled our rent. Unfortunately, I think you have photos, but I don't think the Wi-Fi will stretch back there because it's a new venture for us. We've added we've basically taken the car park in the back and converted it, but we've had to pay for it. And we were lucky enough to work with a company called Sweet Treatments, and they normally do Bonnaroo, Coachella, Outside Lands, all the big events in the music world. And so we've kind of created a backstage in the back, and it's all the set from backstage in Bonnaroo last year. So we tried to create sort of a private, less stressful space, because we have noticed that when everybody's kind of clamoring for outside dining and everyone's on the street, and then San Francisco is a city of a lot and nothing, and there's a lot of people that need help here, and so it's stressful for me to ask some of my friends to come down and spend money here when who knows what could happen outside while they're trying to enjoy themselves and kind of take a break from reality, because that's what this is. So we've created a really, really nice space. We had the band in there last night, as I was saying, and they were playing Dublin in the Rare Old Times, and then two of my friends came in who were drag queens, and they randomly, and they were dressed to the nines, and they went out the back and they played some Tracy Chapman with the band, and it's like, sure, you can't get that anywhere else other than San Francisco. So
I know. And it's great to have that bit of community too, that even in these tough times, you know, there's a community, there's a crowd, there's a crew like that comes together.
Oh yeah,
for few drinks, few songs, like you can't beat it.
Yeah, and we have, what's amazing is we have regulars for Casements that have never been here. We have people that have had maybe 20 visits with us, virtually or like having stuff delivered. So it's incredible. We have this like sort of online community of people now that are invested in our story and how we get on. And it's been, like Sean was saying earlier, like it's been a unbelievable roller coaster, like everybody else is going on, but it's been it's been bonkers.
Well, I know you've started in addition to driving kegs of Guinness around the streets of San Francisco.
Yeah,
it reminds me of the old, was that Michael Douglas and Carl Malden had a show, The Streets of San Francisco, back in the 70s.
Oh yeah. My favorite thing is to just try and jump those hills.
That's it. Yeah, I've visions of the Guinness launching off the back of the car as you go down those hills. Like,
my dad said the same thing.
You started then a subscription service from the bar. Tell us about that and what was the goal behind the subscription service?
Yeah, so basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to bring, you know, like I said, like the main goal of what us opening was to introduce the American market on the West Coast to new and emerging Irish product and be very proud of it and sort of let that flag fly high. And the best way that we can do that right now is to bring it to people in their homes. So like, what we've done is we've created different packages for like all, you know, they start at $25 and they go up to $150. And it's a monthly subscription. And once you have the subscription, you can get some money off, you know, other deliveries. And, you know, it helps us kind of understand like how we're going to get through month to month, you know. So it's a fixed income for us that we really need, and we also, you know, trade it out for like a really great product. And you know, we as I was saying in the last one we just did, so it was a bottle of the Chateau Montelena, a full bottle of one of our cocktails, which is called the Italian 90, named after the wonderful Campana. Yeah, with the Bertha's Revenge, we had Aliseo Vermouth and Campari, so it's Italian and Irish. And then we had Irishman 17-year, just a small nip, the 2-ounce bottle, the Egan Centenary, and then a small bottle of the Method and Madness, the Cherry Wood Expression. So it's good value for money, and you've also access to, we've a secret part of our website where you can buy your Weller and your, you know, sorry I said an American word, didn't mean to.
That's it. That's the end of it now. We've given you enough fair warnings, like Weller as well. Jeez, what'll be next? Blanton's I'll be hearing about next.
Hot dogs. Hot dogs.
So where do you ship these boxes to?
So unfortunately we cannot ship at the moment. We are working on that with the ABC, and legislation has been moving around, and we're looking at different licensing and stuff. But right now we're available in the Bay Area. So if you go onto the website, or if people are on here and they have friends that live, you know, in Oakland or in Marin or in the Peninsula, I mean, the catchment area, as you know yourself, California is a huge place. The catchment area is about, I think it's over 10 million. So,
yeah,
you know, there's a lot of people that it can reach. So if you know people, just kind of shoot them on the link to the website, and they
go
can
to casementsbar.com. Gillian's in San Francisco. I'm in San Diego. We're both in California. We might as well be in different countries, because California itself is like 6 different countries. You wouldn't believe it driving from. I'm almost on the Mexican border.
Yeah.
And you're closer to Canada than you are to Mexico, which is an enormous state altogether.
Oh, it's
and the world's biggest market for Irish whiskey.
Yeah,
the state of California. Yeah, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I've added a drop of ice here. I don't know. Did you add any ice to your whiskey?
I did. Yeah, I just added a drop, but it's warm here. It already melted a bit. But
it changed. Have you no air conditioning? Have you in the bar?
In San Francisco for 5 days a week or a year? Are you kidding me? No.
You'd be broke.
Turn off the American.
Doesn't it change the whiskey completely?
Mm-hmm. Like you said, vegetal. It's very different. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that it actually
almost
knocks a lot of the smoke out of it.
It does. I was just going to say it pairs back the smoke and
Yeah.
reveals some of there's kind of an earthiness underneath that. Wouldn't often put an ice cube now in whiskey, but that's a
No,
lovely suggestion
me
from
neither.
James is sleeping.
The only time I ever really would is if it's a super high proof.
I know.
Myself, but that's lovely.
That is lovely.
Paula Johnson.
Give Polo a drop there.
Polo needs-
Corkmen don't know what peated whiskey is.
Oh,
So we have different stuff down there.
could
We
we have
have the prop stills.
Sorry, could we have a little glass of whiskey for Polo with the silky?
Make
as
sure
well?
you charge him though. Make sure you add it to his bill. Like, don't be giving him free whiskey.
Double.
A double. When Polo has a drop of whiskey in his glass there, maybe he'd give us another old tune.
I mean, he's
reggae.
fairly loaded up there.
He keeps appearing in different areas of the bar, perfectly ready to start a tune. Like it's almost
I
like
know
he's
it's almost like we had it planned,
it's almost like we
but
did.
we didn't. There we go.
Before Polo kicks off there, if you're joining us, we're in San Francisco, live from San Francisco, Casements Bar. All I'd ask of you is share our live stream, press the share button, share it any Facebook groups you're in, share it on Twitter, share it on YouTube, or email a friend. We'd love more people to join us in our lock-in. We get a great crowd here on a Friday night, and we get thousands more joining us over the course of the week on the replays. The more that join us for the lock-in, the better, and the more we
Drop
can
of
together
ice,
and
let's
hear stories of Irish whiskey. So we're here in Casements Bar in San Francisco, and Polo Crosby from Kinsale and County Cork is going to regale us with another tune, I think, as the whiskey magically ferries its way to him. Look at this. That's service.
So if he's still listening, this one goes out to Connor Ryan in Kinsale. The Folkhouse is a great spot, and Connor's run it for quite a few years, and he's put up with a bunch of my lunatic friends actually, and a great music scene there. So, how you doing, Connor? Who's gonna tell you when it's too late? Who's gonna tell you things ain't so great? Can't go on again. Nothing's wrong. Who's gonna drive you home tonight? Who's gonna pick you up when you fall? Who's gonna hang it out when you gone? Who's gonna pay attention? Who's gonna put you in Can't go on. Nothing's wrong.
Gillian, can you go back in front of him again?
So it's hard to go. Who's gonna come around? Who's gonna be the one to Can't go on again.
drive it home tonight.
Come on, Polo. Lovely tune. Is that the Cars?
The Cars
Sing
Bar,
that.
yeah.
Is that the Cars song?
Yeah.
Great tune. Tis far from the banks of the River Lee there that Polo is singing. Singing some great American influence songs and British songs there. But I will be back now to Casements Bar in a second. We'll be talking to Gillian and to Polo again. If you've just joined us, we'll be bringing Gillian back in here in a second. Sipping on the dark silky, moving on next to Redbreast 15 in a second. If you are here for the first time, we congregate and meet here every Friday night at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, midnight Irish time. And we have a very simple goal. Raise a glass with somebody else who likes Irish whiskey, who enjoys a drop of the whiskey, who likes Ireland, who's a fan of Ireland, and who wants a bit of community and friendship in times where we're increasingly alone, aren't we, and isolated from our friends and our family. And so for those of you who are isolated and who are craving a drop of community with your whiskey, this is what we're doing until we can all get together in person again. So we go to various pubs and we bring in various musicians and we bring in whiskey makers, and we always sip on 3 different whiskies every week. And that's it. We're not going anywhere even when the pubs open. In fact, we'll help promote pubs and promote the bars when they open as well, a bit like we're doing tonight. So thanks everyone for joining us. We're going to go back now to bring Gillian back in again. There she is. There she is now. Polo's great crack.
Polo's great crack altogether. We'll keep him.
An official review here. We have the official review here from Diarmuid O'Malley in New Jersey. My God, Polo is the dog's bollocks. So this is, you can put that on his website, maybe his album cover.
Would you believe there was a pub in San Francisco called that?
I believe it. I believe it. Did you tell me that your pub was a British pub before you took it over?
This was, yes, this was owned by 2 Englishmen, and I found photos on the internet of Union Jacks and English flags, which is fine, but they didn't last too long after we got in here.
You wouldn't be able to bring Christy Moore over for a few tunes if you had those flags still flying.
No, we actually, would you believe the week of St. Patrick's Week was just a little bit before Austin, before the big South by Southwest. So Saint's Sister, I don't know if you've heard of them.
No.
They're a duo from, I was working a lot in San Francisco with Noise Pop, which is a small independent group that work like music halls and festivals. And so I got an opportunity to meet a lot of these up and coming Irish bands. So our plan was to have them do what Polo's doing at the moment when they're on tour. So the girls were opening up for Keane, and they were supposed to come here and do a few songs after their show, and that's kind of what we want to do after people play a gig. Come down here and we'll feed them, and they'll play a few tunes like Polo's doing. But unfortunately, that was the COVID week as well.
You're all out of luck so far with the timings and things. Yeah. But it'll figure its way out, won't it?
Well, to be honest with you, I think now. If we can get through this, I think, I do think that it's like it'll be a lot easier. Every day it gets a tiny bit easier. Sometimes there's setbacks, but it gets a little bit easier every day.
Now, you and I have a mutual friend in the lovely Mary Ferreter from Dingle in County Kerry. Good woman, Mary. We've had her on the podcast. Mary. We featured Dingle heavily here on the show, as we're a big fan of Mary and the people in Kerry. You've got Dingle on the shelf as well. Somebody with their eagle eye spotted you either had Dingle gin or vodka in the back of the car too as you were driving around.
I've 3. Oh yeah, I have the gin, the gin and the vodka in a cocktail. We do like I was saying with the cocktail menu, it's all about like what grows together goes together, and then fennel is something that you should never plant because it'll kill everything around it. So we have a cocktail called Billy No Mates with the fennel in it, and you have your choice of you have your choice of Dingle vodka or Dingle gin in that, and then we have I have a sneaky bottle of the Sodom and Bergara, and I have I think I have number 3 up there, number 4. Can't remember.
Has Mary been to the bar?
Mary has not been to the bar in Fort, but Mary and I have had coffee and cocktails and stuff in San Francisco many a time. But she sent us over. We've actually Dick Mac's tasting glasses, and she sent us over hoodies and the whole shebang to wish us well. So and then I was over there again in February, and yeah, she's a woman on the move. She's great. She's lightning.
She's a great character. Myself and Mrs. Stories and Sips had a great night in Dingle before all this went down. Herself, Miss Mary Ferreter and Mr. Ferreter, Patty Joe, we had some lovely pints in Dick Mac's, and we want those days to come back again soon.
Oh God, I took my parents, my mom and dad hopped in the car with me and did a whirlwind couple of distilleries when I was home, and we ended up one of the nights obviously in Dingle, and Dick Mac's is probably Dick Mac's, and then a bar in Navan called Birmingham's, and then a bar in the Hill of Screen, near where I'm from, Mrs. O's, are my favorite 3 bars in the world. And so I went into Dick Mac's, and a young fella came in with the violin in the case, and I elbowed my mom, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is gonna be great!"
There we go.
He was 18 years old, an American kid, and he didn't know how. He'd all the confidence of somebody that was in an orchestra, and none of the talent. But we'd an unbelievable night there, and it's all such a special occasion. And the boys behind the bar are super, they're super knowledgeable, and Dingle is really a magic place. It's the same as Donegal. It is Kerry, but it's much harder to get to than the rest of Kerry.
Wild people in Kerry and Donegal, wild, raw, salt of the earth people that we need them. We need more Kerry and Donegal people in our lives. And it hurts me as a Cork man to say that.
Yes, please. Oh yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Yeah, my dad is from Sneem, so we spent many a summer down in Caherdaniel and down at on Shuppa Dove as well. I don't know if you're familiar with that pub. It's a great old man's pub.
No, Sneem's a beautiful part of the world, though.
Yeah. Oh, to be looking at you weird now with your Cork accent.
Oh, jeez, they wonder, did I come in from out foreign?
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, the Cork border.
It's a gorgeous part of the world. I love going down.
It always, I just love Kerry. I absolutely love. I think they're the nicest people. It's one of the most beautiful places on earth. And on the right day, on a summer's day.
Oh, you wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Really,
no, and a creamy pint or a pint of Bulmers, pint glass filled with ice and some Bulmers in it, and you'd be happy out sitting outside.
Yeah. I have to say, I was in West Cork about 3 or 4 years ago, down in Union Hall and Glandore, and one of my dear person in my life, Arthur McNulty, he's from Glandore, and he's good pals with the West Cork lads, and he'd always be bragging to me like, "Oh, West Cork's the most beautiful part of Ireland," and I was like, whatever. And then I went down there, and I was like, Jesus, actually, we had a lovely day, and we went out fishing, and it was
it's paradise. People don't realize it. It's paradise. I'm back in West Cork next week. We're going home. We're going to quarantine for 2 weeks so that we don't see a soul. So sadly, we won't be able to participate in. Well, the country is sadly in a level of lockdown that's very sad for everyone. But we'll definitely take in for our exercise the hills and the mountains and the walks in West Cork to feed the soul, nourish the soul. We need it
very much so. Yeah.
Will you pour a drop of Redbreast with me?
I will. Yeah.
I have the world's biggest bottle of Redbreast. Times are tough. We can't stretch to bigger bottles right now.
I'd introduce you to this is Monty, by the way. This is a friend of mine. He
Hi, Monty.
Mission Trail, which is an amazing cider company down in Paso Robles. If anyone can pick up a bottle of it, it is unbelievable juice.
Good to meet you, Monty.
Nice to meet you all.
See you. Okay, I'll see you soon. Bye.
I love the working nature of the pub. This is what we want. We want this. This is authentic reality.
For not Irish cider, it's absolutely fantastic.
You're the pure Irish host, though. You're like, how are you getting on? How are you? Bye, never see you. Stay home. Yeah.
Exactly. Will you pour me the Redbreast 15 here?
Sure. Polo's after drinking all the Redbreast.
Oh, it's over there. You're right. Yeah. Sorry.
You get the whole bottle in front of him.
I have to work till 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm a bit worried now.
If you're joining us, all we ask of you on these lock-ins is that you share the live stream with your friends. You press share, you press like, so that more people will come across us and more people can join in for the crack. I'm here with Gillian Fitzgerald, co-owner of Casements Bar in San Francisco, and we're having a bit of an Irish session. She's got to work till 1 o'clock in the morning, but she's still participating in the old session.
It's tough. It's tough. I'll do it though.
You'll do it. You'll do it. It isn't often enough we get to have an old session.
I know. Definitely not. Not as much as we want. Definitely not.
So we have Redbreast 15 as our next drink, the third drink of the night. A lovely drop of Redbreast, a divisive drop of Redbreast. Those who love Redbreast either love the 15-year-old or they hate it.
Very divisive.
Very
divisive. I think they're either
the
camp 12-year-old or camp 15-year-old.
I think so. The division seems to come from the fact that Redbreast 15-year-old really focuses on the bourbon, the ex-bourbon barrel component of the maturation, whereas the Redbreast brand would be very heavily built on and known for its fortified wine components and the contribution from sherry casks, port casks, etc. Yeah. And so to some, bourbon is an unnecessary flavor contribution, even though all the Redbreasts are predominantly aged in bourbon casks. This one would have a more present, a higher percentage of spirit that has aged in ex-bourbon casks than any of the other Redbreasts, and that can turn some people off. I happen to like the fruity vanilla nature of the 15-year-old.
I do too.
It's lovely on the nose and much sweeter, I find, than the others. There's more kind of marshmallow, ginger, vanilla fruits come through in the nose for me. Sláinte, by the way.
Sláinte. Cheers. Cheers, Mark. He's at it again.
Sorry.
I think there's different times and different ways to enjoy the 12 or the 15 or the. I actually have a bottle of the full sherry 1998 one, and it seriously packs a punch. Like it's very high in alcohol content. But
tell that behind the bar to just for yourself.
Our shirts both.
Irish or listen.
If somebody wants to give me money for it, I'll take it.
No period.
But I do love the 15-year, but it's very, very different than the 12.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the Lestau as well. That's like one of my.
Oh, I think Lestau is my favorite of the whole lineup. This is much more vanilla forward, an American oak contribution ringing through there's a sweetness in this that I don't think exists in the same way, kind of a marshmallowy sweetness that wouldn't be the same as the nutty, oily sweetness of a Lestau or a 12-year-old for me. But this might be like 11 o'clock in the morning kind of with your cup of coffee kind of a whiskey, like.
Woof.
After your breakfast Redbreast.
Yeah, sorry. There's a bit of commotion outside.
She's breaking up a fight or something.
No.
Tell me this, Gillian. Your menu, your food menu at Casements. Is there an Irish flavour to the food menu?
Yeah, definitely. We have a. Sorry, one sec. I just don't want that. We'll be moving around here. Yeah, we have a lot of the dishes on there. I suppose like a lot of people did my teenage years working between bars and fish and chip shops. So I worked for the Italians. I worked for the Maccaris, wonderful people, super, super nice family. And they definitely helped me kind of learn what hard work was. And hello. Oh, there's everyone starting to come in now. I'm just going to wave.
Tell all your regulars to jump in. They can join us. Can they sing a song?
Oh, yeah, here. Hang on.
Can they sing?
Sarah. This is Barry.
Oh, yeah.
This is Molly. Hi.
Hey.
I'm not sure of your name. I'm sorry. Tori. Yeah, so they're all being brought out to the back.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So,
exiled.
Yeah. See you later. Fish and chips was like very important on the menu. So we have a friend of ours who catches the fish for us, and then takes it, brings it into us, and then we do a Guinness batter with it. So we do like a soda water, bicarbonate soda. Sorry, one second. Hi. So we're looking for we do like a bicarbonate soda, soda water, flour, a batter, and
Right.
some chips, and then we make our own pickled tartar sauce and curry sauce with it, and it goes down. It's definitely a big seller here.
You have a curry
And
chip.
yeah, we do curry chip and we do like chicken curry, and we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. I've my grandmother's soda bread recipe, which goes down really, really well, and people really love it. And we very tongue in cheek have prawn crackers on the menu, which people have really kind of taken to. Hello. So
Like an Irish like a takeaway in Ireland. Like.
yeah, we're not trying to like we have some dishes on there. We're doing like some fish pies, and yeah, McCarry's chips are unreal, Richard. Dead right. But like we just the focus really is, or before COVID was on the back bar and on the cocktails, and then making sure that any of the any Irish people like who live here now felt a sense of like mom's cooking kind of thing.
Right.
And we've it's good food, and it's nourishing, and it kind of makes you feel like you're at home. We have a lot of young Irish lads who either construction or tech industry or whatever, and they come in and they gobble down a chicken curry with half rice and half chips, and they just do it with such a it's lovely though to see, because you can tell like it just sort of reminds them of something. And
Half and half. Yeah. That's very Irish, all right. I love it. It's terrible that I'm so far away from San Francisco, because it's a 8-9 hour drive, honestly, from San Diego.
It's a drive, yeah. It's definitely a
Seriously.
drive.
You throw those numbers out to people in Ireland, they fall off a chair, like 9 hours, and you're still in the same state.
Yeah.
It's unreal.
I drove down to Joshua Tree a couple of weeks ago. We drove down there, and I was near the end of it. I was like 5 Red Bulls, Motorhead playing. Like, get there. Yeah.
I know.
And you're still nowhere near the border. Yeah. It's crazy.
It's wild. Like, we lived in Ohio for years, and to drive to Ohio now from San Diego is a 32-hour drive, which is madness. And you're still not you're still not on the East Coast, you're still 12 hours on the coast, which is madness. Is Polo warming up at all? Or is he gone? Did we lose him to Redbreast?
Yeah. See you. Bye-bye. Sorry, we're
crashing a live open pub.
I didn't quite hear you, Barry, when he was playing the last time. I should be closer, should I?
Closer to the front of him if possible, where he's
closer to the front of him.
Yeah, so we can hear him kind of projecting.
Oh, that makes. There you go.
There you go.
I see. Said the blind man.
We're grand. We're here at Casements Bar, going to Polo Crosby from Kinsale in County Cork, only across the harbour from Cove. God bless him.
God bless, yeah.
God bless him.
Dirty old river, must you keep rolling into the night? People so busy, makes me feel dizzy. Taxi light shines so bright, but I don't feel afraid. As long as I gaze at Waterloo sunset, I am in paradise. Terry meets Judy, Waterloo Station, every Friday night. But I am so lazy, don't want to wander. I stay at home at night, and I don't need no friends. As long as I gaze at Waterloo sunset, paradise. Every day I look at the world from my window. Chilly is the evening sun. Waterloo sunset's fine. Millions of people crowding like flies round Waterloo Underground. But Terry and Judy cross over the river where they feel safe and sound, and they don't need no friends as long as they gaze at Waterloo sunset. They are in paradise. As long as they gaze at Waterloo sunset, they are in paradise.
You, Command Polo. Was that normal music you'd have heard in Kinsale growing up?
Well, would you believe? It kind of was actually. Yeah. You know, I'll give a big shout out to her. She won't be listening to this. She'll be fast asleep. But my aunt used to be married to Ray Davies from the Kinks.
There you go. Keeping it in the family there.
This is my favorite song Polo plays. One of them. So I was delighted he played it.
You know, we when we're rounding out our night here in the lock-in, normally we end with a kind of a Glenn Hansard inspired version of the Owl Triangle. Kind of big Glenn Hansard fans over here as well.
Oh yeah. Is that a hint?
No, I mean, not necessarily a hint, but you know, we're here for the crack as much as the air, like.
Oh shit.
Oh, here we go.
A hungry feeling came on me stealing, and the mice lay squealing in my prison cell, and the old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. To begin the morning, a screw was falling. Get up, you bounty, clean out yourself, and the old triangle went jingle, jingle, all along the banks of the Royal Canal. And like late seamen, all the boys lay dreaming, and I lay there weeping for my young girls. And the old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. Up in the female prison, there are 75 women, and amongst those women where I wish I was 12, and the old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal. And the old triangle went jingle jangle all along the banks of the Royal Canal.
Yes, Command Polo, unreal. Those chords are beautiful. Beautiful stuff. I love those chords. You nailed it. Nailed it. Good man, Polo. He didn't even break a sweat. Look at him, sipping away at the whiskey. He's like, you're grand.
For tires.
Jeez. You're unreal. That's brilliant.
No problem.
You should be in it is the National Concert Hall. You should be in.
It's closed.
It's closed.
Or maybe the Firkin Crane or something.
Yeah, the Firkin Crane is closed as well, Barry.
That's why you should be in them.
Oh, no.
Oh, stop. That's unreal. Great. People are loving it. So we've loads of comments, people saying Barry's under pressure. I normally end by singing the old triangle. People saying, can you feel the tension? Sure, I'm hardly a singer. I'm only a fella that with 4 or 5 whiskies in me, I'll start screaming out notes and people think it's a song, but it's not like. But that was brilliant. Great feedback for it. People loving it. I'll have to change the song I'll sing out with tonight now because the old triangle's been nailed for tonight.
Do you know Freebird?
What's that?
You know Freebird?
Freebird. Guitarists love hearing that request. They love that. Like, she's the crack is mighty.
Oh yeah, you have to come down. You have to get into the car and take that 9-hour spin over here.
Maybe could I do a night behind the bar or something?
Oh God, of course, but there'll be nobody in the bar because it's closed. No, listen. Yeah, you can.
Is there nothing open?
No, I'd love to have you over to do. Hi, hello. I'd love to have you over to do a tasting on the patio. That'd be great crack.
We'll do it.
IRL.
When I get back from Ireland, maybe this side of Christmas we might get something done.
Oh yeah, that'd be wonderful. That'd be great.
Brilliant. We'll come up for a few days in San Francisco and we'll do a duet with Polo on the old triangle.
Should we do a very reasonable bed and breakfast rate?
I'd say you do, yeah. I'd just throw me under an old table in the corner
Exactly.
I'd throw 15 euros your way. You'd be grand.
Oh, it's been so lovely. I was really looking forward to this. I have to say, it's been super, super nice to have a bit of a life in the bar, and there's life in these old walls yet, for sure.
I know. Well, look, it's been brilliant having you, and we've only scratched the surface of what is Casements Bar and Polo's expertise and capabilities there, I'd say.
Yeah.
Neither of you even broke a sweat compared to what you could probably normally do as well. Like, I'd say there's great cocktail making and singing could be had in Casements.
There you go.
Maybe we'll do an Irish whiskey fans kind of stories and sips meetup in San Francisco in Casements Bar.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. That'd be brilliant. We've plenty of new folks here that'd be really, really into that.
So loads of messages, people saying next time they're in San Francisco, they'll be swinging by Casements.
Oh yeah, please do. Yeah, please do. We'd love to see
my commission checks are probably in the post, are they, for all those people who'll be swinging by?
Yeah. They're in the post.
A good creamy pint. We'd be happy. That's it. Well, listen, Gillian, Sean, Polo, you've been legends. Thanks a million for joining us tonight in the lock-in. We'll next time we see you, we'll see you in person.
Yeah, love to. Absolutely love to.
Great stuff.
I'll tell you what. I'll put the keg of Guinness in the car and meet you halfway.
I'll meet you in Santa Barbara, so with the keg of Guinness.
Oh, lovely. Perfect.
Lovely. On the beach in Santa Barbara. We'd be happy out.
Oh, happy out.
Brilliant
Thanks
stuff.
so much.
All right, lads. We'll see you soon. Thanks a million for joining us.
See ya.
Bye. Great stuff from Gillian and Polo and Sean up there in San Francisco. Unreal. Yeah, if we go up there, I'll buy the first round. That's it. That maximum of 3 people, please, so that I can get change from $10, if you don't mind. So that is our first trip to a bar during the lock-in, and I think we'll figure out more ways to include bars that are struggling and that need a bit of help and need a bit of exposure and are flying the Irish flag and are trying to spread the good word of Irish produce and whiskey and food and making great cocktails and having a bit of crack. And you never know what corner of the world you'll find people from Cork and Meath and Kerry and Limerick, all looking for a bit of banter and a bit of crack. So I've enjoyed having them on there. And sure, Polo gave us the old triangle, which means that we'll have to find a different old tune to play us out tonight. But Chris says, brilliant crack, love the lock-in. And Steve will be stopping by Casements and Fiddler's Green if and when he's ever back in San Francisco. Well, hopefully we'll all get back to San Francisco soon, because there'll be a bit of crack to be had up there, I'd say, with Gillian and the team. Steve, I saw you had a question earlier about Redbreast, whether I'd go for Redbreast 12 cask strength or Redbreast 21. Very, very different beasts altogether, not just in price. There'll be probably $120 difference in the price between 12 cask strength and 21, but also just very extraordinary different beasts. If the budget allowed, I'd go for Redbreast 21 all day long. Redbreast cask strength is a fantastic whiskey at about $100 a bottle. But if you've got the 200, 230 to go for the 21, you won't be sorry. It blew my mind when I first sipped Redbreast 21. I laughed out loud, just uncontrollable laugh out loud. I was that surprised at the taste, at the flavour. But tonight I've been drinking Redbreast 15-year-old. Emptied my last miniature. I need more Redbreast 15. Need to stock up on that. And I've also been drinking. We started off tonight with our green spot, Chateau Montelena. Put that up there. See if you can see it. Green Spot Chateau Montelena, which is a lovely drop of whiskey that has been finished its maturation for up to about a year in Zinfandel casks that came from Chateau Montelena winery just north of San Francisco. And the whiskey I drank the most of tonight is the legendary Dark Silky from Sleeve League Distillers. I'm 2 glasses of that in, and I must say, adding the drop of ice, which I don't normally do, as per the suggestion of the man behind the whiskey himself, Mr. James Doherty. He suggested adding in a drop of ice. I'd have to agree with that. That was a lovely little addition, and it brought down the peat even further into a lovely balance between that raisiny sweetness that accompanied the smoke. And I just thought it was a lovely, lovely balance altogether. Johnny says, don't we all have a long list of bars to visit now? We do indeed. We do indeed. Kieran says, great to see Irish folks pressing on and smiling. It is amazing enthusiasm there in San Francisco. When they opened just 6 short weeks before the pandemic shut them down, you can't imagine that was easy, but absolutely great to see the Irish resilience there shining through. And Joe says, you've got some lovely guests, great people. Well, we're going to go around America over the next few lock-ins, the next 500 lock-ins, however many we're going to do, but we're not going to stop doing these lock-ins. But I think this is a great chance for us to showcase those who are flying the Irish flag, who've got some stories to tell, who've got a bit of crack, who are doing something interesting. Why I was interested in going to Casements Bar was because I started a conversation online with Gillian over Instagram. We started following each other on Instagram, and she mentioned how she was following the podcast, and I mentioned how I was following Casements Bar, and 10 minutes later we're chatting on the phone, and she's telling me about their challenges and the things that they're trying to do. And I said, well, it's an obvious one. We got to jump on, we got to get in a lock-in together, and people have got to see what you're doing, and you've got to share your passion, and people are going to just buy into that. And look, I just love spending my Friday nights talking to people who are involved with Ireland and Irish whiskey, and those who are transplants from our lovely island who have found their way to America, no different than people have done for hundreds of years. But now with the beauty of technology, we can connect them all and we can build our little community. And I think what we'll end up doing is we'll find little outposts for our Irish whiskey fans of America, Facebook group, little in-person meetups that we'll do, and our Stories and Sips community will find our way around the world, and we'll find places to meet in person. Let me see. Let me know what you're drinking. I think we're, we've had a good 3 drinks so far. What am I going to go on to next? I've had 3 drops of whiskey. Do you know what I might do now? I might actually open a new bottle, a 4th bottle of whiskey. But I might ask Mrs. Stories and Sips to find me a glass. Love, would you mind passing me the Waterford whiskey glass? That's just up there. I'll, if you wouldn't mind. Thank you so much. No, or 1 second. Mrs. Stories and Sips afraid of her life of appearing on camera. Hold on there now while I get my glass. All right, here we are. We're back at my Waterford whiskey glass. Lovely. Mrs. Stories and Sips does not like to be in front of the camera. She's the genius, the mastermind behind the camera. So she should remain that way. So I got a lovely delivery today. I got delivery of the first ever Waterford whiskey that is available in the United States. and it's called. It's from the Dunbell Farm in County Kilkenny. The grower is Ned Murphy, farmer in Kilkenny, and this has not even been cracked open yet. I have tasted a sample of the Dunbell, but this is my first full bottle to open of the Waterford. So we're going to move on to that. A fourth whiskey, says Chris. Yeah, Waterford indeed. Who amongst you got the email about the story? I see Jeff Adams, you got your email to say that the story is going to be made available to you. We sent out our emails this week to everyone who had pre-registered for the story, and which is great to see the response. We've been tracking the progress of our whiskey as it finds its way across the Atlantic. It's still not left European shores. It's on outside off the coast of the Netherlands. It's a lovely bottle altogether. So this Waterford has a glass stopper. Let me see if you can see that. So this is a glass stopper instead of your regular cork. Very unusual indeed. And I've been advised on how to open this, which is you stick your nail under the, help if I had nails, you stick your nail under, yeah, there, I suppose something like that, is it? You'd think it was champagne. And apparently you're supposed to have the cork fly across the room, right? It's still in one piece. Jeez, that came off like a rat out of a trap. Right, you all got the email. Andrew got the email. Steve got the email. Chris got the email. Tony got the email. Ed, Bob, Zane. Nice. Okay, so I've got my lovely little Waterford whiskey glass here. I'm pouring in a drop of the Dunbell. Very unusual color. Lovely straw pale color. All right, so if you've been following along in the group, you may have seen and noticed mention of what Waterford is doing in terms of the transparency of information and the traceability that is a cornerstone of their approach. And on the reverse of every bottle on the label, there's a code. It's going to be very hard to see this, but at the bottom of the, just above the barcode, there is a code there that's called a terroir code. Terroir. And terroir is the phrase that would refer to, it's a French word, there's no real English translation, but it literally means of the land, and it refers to the unique set of circumstances environmentally and also what we might add in terms of fertilizers, but it refers to the unique set of circumstances that generated the crop, the barley, and in turn gave the unique flavor profile to that barley because of the specific field it was in, the way, the topography of the soil, the type of soil, whether there was rain or sunshine. Many different factors contribute to making that crop of barley unique. So each of the Waterford whiskies that has been released so far is from a single farm. In other words, it's approximately a 30 to 40 acre farm, nothing bigger than that may yield about 100 tons of barley maximum. And that barley is then harvested separately, it's stored separately, it is shipped to the distillery separately, all the farms are kept separate, and then it is fermented, so yeast is added to it, separate to all other farms, it's distilled separately, and then it is matured separately. So what you have at the end is a 100% unique whiskey that is of one single farm, and that has never been done in Ireland before, that you could trace your whiskey back to one single farm. And there's no harm in sharing tonight that, and you'll be the first to hear this, that I've been working on a project with Waterford Distillery on their terroir approach. And we're producing an 8-part documentary podcast on the topic of terroir, which we're hoping to release in the next 4 weeks. And this 8-part documentary series is going to go in depth into great interviews with scientists and farmers and growers and drinkers and distillers from all over the world about the topic of terroir. And it's been fascinating to listen to the farmers. I was on the phone all afternoon yesterday with growers in Ireland who grow their barley for the Waterford Distillery, sharing the stories of their pride that they end up seeing their name finally on a bottle of whiskey. For years, they've been growing barley and crops and things that they don't know where they go. Even one farmer told me that he thinks he has some of the best grass-fed cattle in Ireland, but he doesn't know whether that meat ends up in McDonald's or in a 5-star restaurant. He has no idea where it goes. And for the first time ever, he gets to trace his crop all the way to the bottle. And there's an amazing sense of pride. So remarkable what is happening in Waterford, and I'm a huge fan of theirs. And I'm really interested to see what comes out of the distillery over the coming years. But there's been a lot of divisive discussion about Waterford Distillery and about what they're doing, and whether the terroir, this approach to focusing on the land alone, is hype or whether it's real. And so the purpose of our 8-part documentary is not to tell you what Waterford thinks. In fact, they don't really have much of an input into how this documentary is going to turn out. They basically asked me to talk to as many people as possible so that you get to make your own mind up. And there's been some really fascinating discussions. I think it's going to really open all of our eyes to the lengths that everybody in this production is going to, from grower all the way to bottler, in making a very different whiskey. And what's most fascinating to me is why they're doing it that way. So stay tuned for that. That's going to come in the next few weeks. So it's the Stories and Sips little exclusive there for you. Early November we'll hope to launch that, or Waterford will be launching it directly. So here we go. This is Dunbell Farm. But this terroir code I mentioned on the back, I've never even told you about the code. The code, every bottle has a unique code. And you can type this code into the Waterford website, and it'll take you to a page that includes every detail imaginable about this whiskey. Let me see so why don't we pull it up here? I'll do it right here. We'll try and do something here if we can. So I'm going to go to Waterford's website, Waterford Distillery, see if this works. The technology will allow me to do it. And I'm going to go to their terroir tab on their website. And once I type this in, I'll try and share the screen with you. Okay, so it gives me an option to enter the code. All right, let's see if I can share this screen, because it's well worth seeing. Aha, here we go. Look at this magic. All right, so let me take all these banners off the screen. So here what you have in front of you is Waterford's website. So it says enter the code. So the code on the back of this, pull it up here, is F022E0101. All right, now we get to enter, and let's see what we get. All right, so you can see here on the screen, hopefully you can see it. This is the grower from Dunbell. So you see there at the bottom, it says Dunbell edition 1.1. That's what I'm drinking. And this is Ned Murphy. Ned is the grower of the Dunbell farm. It's his farm. So if you scroll down, you'll see some key facts. When the barley was harvested, 30th of September 2015. When it was distilled, week 39 of 2016. It was matured for 3 years, 8 months, and 26 days. 6,000 bottles, only for the US market. But now here's where it starts to get crazy. So you've got some pictures of Waterford Distillery and its relationship and proximity to Dunbell. But as you start scrolling down here, you get the history of the Dunbell farm. And as we keep going down, here we get the sound of Dunbell. So they put sound engineers into the fields to record the sound of the barley growing and blowing in the wind. So if I was to press play there, you would hear the sound of the farm. It won't come through on our technology, unfortunately, but there's a sound cloud from the farm. You keep scrolling down. Look at these timelines. When the barley was sown, harvested, when it went to maltings, when it was distilled, when it was filled, when it was sent for bottling, who were the distillers that day, 4 different distillers. And as we keep scrolling down, we get everything from look at this, photograph of the soil. This is a cross-section of the field. The type of soil, the description of the soil, details on the barley, the yeast, the water, how many hours the fermentation was for, head distiller's observations. And here now are the casks of wood that this spent its time in. Look at this. These are all the casks. American first fill, premium French, Vin de Naturel, US virgin casks. And here's the composition. 33% of the spirit was in first fill US, 22% in virgin US, 26% in premium French, and 19% in Vin de Naturel. I mean, how mind-blowing is that we get this information on the whiskey that we're drinking? So really incredible detail in terms of the transparency behind the whiskey. So for some of you might think, well, that's overkill. I don't need any of that. I just want a whiskey that's good. Well, that's important too. So Let me take a sip of the Dunbell. $6,000 bottles, US only, 50% ABV. Wonderful biscuitiness to this single malt. All the whiskies produced at Waterford Distillery are single malt whiskies, 100% malted barley. And there is a sweetness that is clearly the Vin de Natural, which are fortified wines like could be Marsala, Madeira, and a number of other like dessert wines, Vin de Natural, and they're heavily sugared, heavily fortified, sweet wines. And not unlike the Shadow Montelena I tasted earlier, there's an incredible sweetness that comes through both on the nose, that smells like the inside of a wine cask on the nose, and then on the palate, there's a lovely biscuitiness that gives way and fades away to a sweetness, almost like a pink red wine finish. So for many, they're not going to mind that there's all this information available about the whiskey. But for others, it'll matter, the process. And I don't know about you, but I want to know where my beef comes from, and I want to know where my chicken comes from when I buy it. And that's important to me. For others, it's not so important. And there's no right or wrong way. Waterford now is taking this approach that they have a belief, and they're going to build everything they do based on this belief. And they think that transparency and traceability is core to their process. And I think there'll be people who are attracted to that approach, who want to try a product of a different approach to whiskey making. And I think it's a watershed moment for whiskey in Ireland. Steve wants me to post the purchase link again. Let me see if I can find it's Glass Rev. Have it here. Yep. All right. So if you want to purchase online, I think they sold out everything on their first day. But here, I'm going to paste it into the links, into the comments, and I'll also put a banner up here across the screen for you all. You can buy this online only version. This is not available in stores. Online only. This was $75, I think, or $85. I have to double check. Dunbell, from the Dunbell farm, and then you'll get the code on the back that you can type in, and you can trace it at glassrev.com/Waterford for US only shipping. Johnny says, if you don't want to know, don't read it, but if you do, look it up. I'm absolutely fascinated, and I had an amazing conversation yesterday with one of the growers who, as I asked him about the difference between different farms, does he think that makes a difference to the taste of the whiskey? And he said, let me tell you, he said, even within my own farm, he said, I know which fields are the good fields and which fields are the not so good fields. And he said, even within those fields, I know which is the good area and which is the bad area, where I'm going to get the best crop from. And he said that anyone would dispute that doesn't have an effect on the outcome of the whiskey, they're fooling themselves, because he said, as farmers, we know this is true, and we've always known this is true. We always know where to place our crop based on what we want to get out of the yield at the end, or what we want to have harvested at the end of the season. So it's a fascinating approach, and to connect us deeper with farmers and to connect us with the entire chain of production just gives us more opportunities to engage, and it heroes the farmers. And somebody raised a very good point as I was talking to a whiskey drinker during the week. They said that Irish whiskey has been perceived for many years as an industrial product. Massive distilleries like Midleton, which, let's be honest, do an amazing job. We would not be talking about whiskey today if it wasn't for the likes of Midleton Distillery. But they're massive industrial complexes, whereas whiskey is an agricultural product. And so what Waterford are doing, they're saying, well, let's get back to the agriculture and let's focus on that as the primary building block of our whiskey. And then we'll distill, we'll ferment, we'll distill the grain and we'll mature it. But we have a different approach that's agriculturally led. And somebody else said to me, well, also the wood that you put it in, well, that's an agricultural product too, isn't it? It comes from a tree. So it's just a different way of thinking about whiskey. And it won't be for everybody, but I've been a fan since I first understood them, because I didn't understand them for a long time. And I've shared this on the podcast and here on the live stream, that it took me going to the distillery and spending 6 or 7 hours with the team there to help me understand what was their approach, but more importantly, why was it their approach, and what led their beliefs? What were the beliefs that led them to make production harder, slower, less efficient. There must have been some deep underlying beliefs. And if you listen to our documentary when it comes out, we go in depth into the origin story of what led to this, which I think is really, really fascinating. Yes, so many bottles on back order coming in today. Yeah, the supplier was inundated, and I think our Facebook group had something to do with that. My understanding is that our Facebook group sold more than 100 bottles of Waterford in day one when we shared the link, which is fantastic. So kudos to all of you. Tony says $115 delivered to Northwest Florida. Kieran says $110 delivered to the door in New Jersey. $95 ex shipping. So it's going to vary depending where you are and the taxes. This is a young whiskey, but it would be foolish of us to compare this to a 10-year-old whiskey or an 8-year-old whiskey. Instead, what I want to do with this is not say, for this price and this age, here's what I should be paying, because that would be the incorrect comparison. For me, what I'm instead looking at with this is considering the process that you've deployed to create this. Help me understand that process so that I can understand what's in my glass. And I know there's a premium price to pay for that. And that's why it is, look, it's not a $30 whiskey. It's a $95 whiskey. There are $35 whiskeys here. Look, I picked this up during the week. Busker, a new blended whiskey from Ireland. Single, or not a single, this is a blend. But there are 4 whiskies in the Busker range that are all around $30 or $35. And I tried this morning and I was pleasantly surprised. I'll talk more about it maybe on the next podcast or the next live stream. But there are price points and options at every, there's options at every price point for Irish whiskey. I'll tell you one thing, I don't know anything about the production of this except the distillery it comes from. And I don't know if there's anything different that they're doing, but I want to find out because I'm curious. But now that I've found out about Waterford, you can't shut me up about it because I'm just a big believer. But each to their own. Bob says he loves the concept of getting back to the farm. Kudos to Waterford. I agree. It's something different. And God knows we needed more whiskies to try. There wasn't enough coming out already. John loved his visit to Waterford. Is there a back order? People want to know. There's more whiskies coming in. Yes, and I just saw them shipping more whiskies to the United States from the distillery last week. So yeah, do put in your orders if you're interested. And you'll also start to see it in retail stores over the coming months as well. Website says in stock. Chris, that's a tough question. Does anyone have a recommendation on which Waterford to get? They're all quite different. And I wish they had miniature bottles available so that we could try the difference in terroir alongside one another. But they don't, sadly, and I don't think they will. But I maybe go for the online version, the Dunbell. And then if you like that, work your way through some of the others. There's an organic whiskey as well called Gaia, which will be available very soon. The first organic Irish whiskey in a century. The only Irish whiskey on the market that is certified to be organic. No chemicals, fertilizers involved in its production whatsoever. So that's fascinating and exciting as well. Anyone who doesn't agree or doesn't believe in their approach, of course, is entitled to their opinion. My question would be, why would we not be celebrating a visionary distillery owner who is doing nothing but focusing on 100% Irish production, farmers, barley, everything about what they're doing is to celebrate and showcase the best that's coming out of Ireland. I don't think that's a bad news story at all. The lineup is dizzying. The Pilgrimage. Yes, I have the Pilgrimage on the shelf behind me, which was their first ever release. 1,500 bottles were produced. Greg is hoping to tour the distillery in May. And Ed says that there's a dizzying number of whiskies. So I see a lot in the Irish Facebook groups. I see complaints about the number of whiskies that are being released from Waterford, as if choice is a bad thing. But as I broke down their complaints, I realized these are flippers and collectors of whiskey who are worried about keeping up and trying to purchase and invest and flip their whiskies for higher profits. Ladies and gentlemen, is whiskey not for drinking? It's not for gathering dust on the shelf. If we're buying whiskies with the sole purpose of hoping it accumulates in value, and for no other reason, maybe we've missed our opportunity to enjoy whiskey. God forbid we're knocked down by a bus in the morning and all these lovely whiskies are still sitting on the shelf unopened. That would be an awful thing. Kieran wants to know what I would compare this one to. This is, to me, the closest comparison on the nose, believe it or not, even though it's a single malt, is either the Chateau Leoville Barton Green Spot or the Chateau Montelena Green Spot, only because the wine component is so powerful on the nose. And then on the palate, there's the unmistakable biscuity maltness of malted barley that fades away to a dry, almost saline, umami saltiness, and then some sweetness. It's quite unusual. There is a salt to this. It's in Kilkenny. It's nowhere near the coast. Reading you the back of the label here. East of the River Nore, one of the three sisters of rivers in County Kilkenny, grower Ned Murphy's barley ripens in the shadow of Tullaheron's Round Tower, site of a 5th century monastery where the monks converting the deer people must have favoured the deep, loamy soils derived from glacial drift of limestone, sandstone and shale. Well, that's quite a mouthful, but that's interesting. Look, 3 ingredients: Irish barley, water and yeast. No colouring, nothing else. And it's not single malt Irish whiskey. It's Irish single malt whiskey. And the owner of the distillery, the founder, Mark Rainier, has said, look, it's the best single malt in the world that happens to be Irish. Rather than trying to fit into a category of Irish single malts and what they taste like, it's single malt whiskey that happens to be from Ireland. But I won't give away too much of the information we're going to share in our documentary, but that's coming very, very soon. William has no unopened bottles on his shelf. Good man. I have a couple, but they'll be opened in time. All right, let me share with you, let me put these on the screen. I got some really exclusive pictures this week about our story, our whiskey. And I got some pictures from the farm, and I'm going to send them all now to the computer. You'd think I'd be organized enough to have done this before, but I wasn't. All right, save that. I'm blown away by this, how it turned out. And the word is from Louise at JJ Corrie that this is one of the finest, most special, flavorful blends they've ever put together. And the contribution of the 1991 single malt has changed this whiskey completely and created an incredible whiskey. And I'm really excited to, let me share these now with my computer. But it's getting close. Here's the thing. The funny thing of all of this is you're all going to get the story before I do. I'm going to be in Ireland when it lands. All right, some of these have saved, some haven't. Let me try that again. Save that. Okay, here we go. Select. Sending those to MacBook. While that, Ed asks if Waterford is pot still or column stilled. It uses pots, double distillation, 2 single pots to make their single malt. 2 single pots. All right, let's open these with. All right, let's first put up an image, and then I'll put up some movies or some movie clips. All right, here we go. We are sharing a picture of the story. Here we go. So here's the miniature bottle and the full bottle. And you'll notice that, see if I can zoom in a little bit on this. The label snakes around the bottle at an angle, almost like a 25 to 30 degree angle. So what you're seeing there is the left-hand side of the full label with the Stories and Sips logo, and the word "the story." You can just see it through the bottle, snakes its way around at a lovely angle, very, very unusual. and you've got the story around the neck of the bottle as well. So it's absolutely beautiful. And the color, look at that dark color. There's no coloring added here. This is a beautiful color. That is the 1% of this is 1991 single malt that has been aged 100% in ex-sherry casks. But the color contribution that was so heavy, so dark, it has altered the color of that incredibly. It's just absolutely beautiful. Kieran says it's like seeing a sonogram for the first time. It's really, I'm just so impressed by what JJ Corrie and Louise have managed to do for us. So it's a beautiful thing. Let me see if I can share one of the movies with you. Okay, we should be able to do this too. All right, let me share the screen again. There we go. All right, so this is we're going to see both the miniature and the full bottle here being spun around. Isn't that beautiful? First time seeing those was the other day, and just amazing to see the logo, Stories and Sips logo, the name, the story, just a stunning look at it. Kieran asks if that 1% can have that much influence. I was wondering about the same, and it turns out it can, and I've heard it from a number of sources now who've tried our whiskey, that 1% has made all the difference, both in colour and in flavour. So they call it top dressing, but it can be used to balance out flavors. It can be used to add a flavor profile, and it turns out that it's just done a beautiful. It's really just rounded out the whiskey in a fantastic way. See if there's another video here, I think, to share with you. Let's open this one up as well. Let me try sharing this screen. There you go. That's the little miniature. And then do I have another thing to share? No. I think I have another picture. Oh yeah, that's the same one. Actually, I've got one more picture here to share with you as well that I'll send from my phone. But really exciting to see. Here's a picture of the labeling just before the labels were put on. Let me see if I can get this to you as well. Here we go. All right, so share the screen. So this is the labels. These are the labels about to be applied, and you see all of our full bottles. Look at those. Isn't that a picture of beauty right there? A full lineup. Look at the color of the whiskey. Isn't it incredible? Have you ever seen that? Richard O'Kelly says he's still waiting for the Stories and Sips glasses in Ireland. Richard, they're available. They're available on our website. We ship all over the world. And while there's an increased premium in shipping to Ireland, as you'd imagine, we have been shipping glasses to Ireland. So they are available if anyone wants to buy our Stories and Sips glasses. Bob says he's so anticipating the story, he ordered a bottle of JJ Corrie the Gale while he's waiting. Endearment's fierce emotional looking at it. These pictures are fascinating to me of just seeing this process, and we'll share these in our group in due course, and we're getting some professional photos taken at the moment of our whiskey. So that's our whiskey, nobody else's. That's ours. We should be proud of it. We should be proud of it. And thanks to all of you for the support along the way. It's been amazing. So we're coming near to the end of our night. I'm 4 whiskeys in. Started with our green spot Chateau Montelena, then moved on to the dark silky, the legendary dark silky, peated whiskey, and then finally we had our, not finally, but penultimately we had our Redbreast 15-year-old, and then I decided, sure isn't the night only young, we can't be going home yet. We moved on to our Waterford Dunbell. And I think there was a question earlier about Dunbell from somebody that I didn't answer. Let me check. Will they release Dunbells from other parts of Ned's Farm or just a single release? No, so when there is a single farm release, typically that is the entire farm's contents. So you're looking for farms that are minimum of 30 acres that can generate minimum of 100 tons of barley. I think it's 130 tons of barley. And that is one release from one farm. Now there may be many fields within that farm, but we're getting it down to this one farm, single farm level, which is the smallest little appellation I think that Irish whiskey has ever been identified from. I think the closest thing we have to that is the Middleton Dargaelach series of Irish oak, where we could trace the origin of the wood to the very tree in the forest. Which tree was it that turned into the barrel that eventually housed the Middleton Dargaelach before it was bottled? So yeah, just the entire farm. Now what we'll also see in future is you'll see these farms, I won't use the word blended, but vatted, married together. So if you think about the Grand Cuvées in French wine, they take many different wines, oftentimes many different vintages and different wines together to create the ultimate cuvée, the ultimate blend. So you'll see these single farm origins in time becoming the starting block, the starting point for Grand Cuvées, where they'll choose different whiskies that they believe complement each other to make a vatting or a cuvée of single farms. So you'll still have single malt because it's all produced in one single distillery, but it'll contain multiple farms together. And that's the beauty of this approach, is that they end up with, every year there's 75 to 80 farms are distilled. You've got this great library of spirits to choose from, which is a remarkable thing. A song, says Diarmuid. A song. It must be time to sing. Steve says you must post those to the group. Well, Steve, we will post them to the group, but not quite yet. You're getting an exclusive here tonight. We might get some professional photos before we share it to the group, but bit by bit we'll be dripping out more information there to the group so you can drool over them. But listen, if the owl triangle was already sang, doesn't that put us on the back foot? Didn't Paul O'Crosby beat us to it with the owl triangle, and a lovely version he did of it too. Somebody else said, was it Richard asked for the contender? John wants Beeswing. We'd have to have an old song, wouldn't we? We wouldn't be a lock-in without an old tune. I've had the contender stuck in my head since the last time I sang it. Was that last week or the week before? I can't even remember. All right, we'll put it to the vote. 2 songs. We'll put it up here on the screen. It'll be between one of 2 songs. Beeswing, which is immortalised by Christy Moore, as was the contender, the Jack Doyle song, which we sang in a previous. We've sang both of these before, but you can tell me which one you want. They're both made famous by Christy Moore, and they'll both be destroyed by me. The contender, says Richard. Well, you can tell me now. I'm sipping on my Waterford here. Quite happy to sit here and sip. Kieran wants the contender. This Dunbell, the more I go back to it, it is seaweed and umami, and I don't know why. And I'm going to have to explore this, whether it's what I've been drinking before or not. But there is a seaweed note to this that is unmistakable. That is umami all day long. Mel, would you like a drop of the Waterford? Yeah. Give you one of these glasses here. The contender, I think, is the winner. Pour a drop here from Mrs. Stories and Sips. Here you go, love. It's lovely. Lovely whiskey. All right, we'll do the contender. So, the saddest of songs, a reminder of us all, for us all, to balance our consumption of whiskey with our families and our lives, and let no drink take over the most important things in our lives. If we can control it, we ask our friends and our family for help so that we don't follow the sad path of Mr. Jack Doyle, who died penniless, a millionaire in his prime, singing and selling out Carnegie Hall and boxing around England and Ireland, and even indeed in Madison Square Garden in New York. We don't end up penniless in the streets like Mr. Jack Doyle. So it's a sad old song, but it's an important song, and it's a beautiful song, written by Mr. Jimmy McCarthy, a Cork man, And Mr. Christy Moore carried the torch for it, sang it, and brought it to an even wider audience. So we'll sing a drop of The Contender. Why not? Why not? For the day that's in it. All right. Slaunch, everybody. This will get me very emotional now, so I'll probably have to go after this. Oh, when I was young and I was in my day, I could steal what woman's heart there was away. I'd sing and dance until the morning, blaze away until the dawning, long before I was the man you see today. I was born beneath the star that promised all. I could have lived my days between Cork Cove and Youghal, but the wheel of fortune took me, from the highest point it shook me. By the bottle live and by the bottle I will die. But there in the mirror on the wall, I see the dream is fading, from the contender to the brawl. The ring, the rose, the matador is raving. When I die, I'll die a drunk down on the street. You can count me out from 10 in clear defeat. Wrap the starry plough around me, let the piper's air resound me. There I'll rest until the Lord of Love I'll meet. There in the mirror on the wall, I see the dream is fading, from the contender to the brawl. The ring, the rose, the matador is raving. Oh, when I was young and I was in my day, I could steal what woman's heart there was away. I'd sing and dance until the morning, blaze away until the dawning, long before I was the man you see today. But there in the mirror on the wall, I see the dream is fading, from the contender to the brawl. The ring, the rose, the matador is raving. When I die, I'll die a drunk down on the street. You can count me out from 10 in clear defeat. Wrap the starry plough around me, let the piper's air resound me. There I'll rest until the Lord of Love I'll meet. There I'll rest until the Lord of Love I'll meet. Slaunch, everybody. A lovely old drop there of whiskey, and a lovely song from Jimmy McCarthy and Christy Moore, The Contender, about Jack Doyle, the boxer. That's it, Tim Murphy. You're still up at home in Cove, brought home to be buried in Cove by the O'Shea family and the Commodore Hotel in Cove. That's right. We told the story here a few weeks ago. Pat O'Shea, who I used to work for, and Barry's Undertakers, they brought home the body of Mr. Jack Doyle, who died in 1978 on the streets of London. They brought him home and gave him a proper burial in his native Cove. He didn't have a penny left to his name, and the word was that he lived out his last days on monies from ex-wives and ex-lovers' families, and that's all the money he had. But yeah, the Cove people brought him back to be buried in Cove. So yeah, lovely old tune. Cheers, Tim. Cheers for staying up. Good man yourself. Now the tears. Good man, Dahi. I love that song. It's beautiful. Dahi, Mr. W.D. O'Connell, peated whiskey man, Mr. Bill Phil himself. Jack would be proud. Look, Jack wasn't without his faults. We're not going to celebrate a man that, we're not going to hero him alone. It's just a story of a man that had many sides to him, and it's just a sad story of wins and losses, but a lovely old tune to remind us of the demon drink and the highs and lows. Sinead. So listen, we'll end on that note. To be hard to top a little emotional tune about Jack Doyle. Next Friday night, we will have another great lock-in. We're finalising details on that we'll be sharing in our Facebook group during the week. And stay tuned for part 1 of our podcast series, a 2-episode podcast series on single pot still whiskey and its history. We were joined in this podcast that'll be published this week by Fionnán O'Connor, the author of A Glass Apart, the seminal study and book on pot still whiskey from Ireland. And Fionnán and I had a marvellous couple of hours that we've turned into 2 episodes of a single pot still discussion, great historical discussion about pot still whiskey. And that's it. We'll be sharing that during the week. So stay tuned. Lots of great things happening. If you're not a member of the Irish Whiskey Fans of America Facebook group already, whether you're in Ireland or America or anywhere at all, go join that group. Pop into Facebook after this and just type in Irish Whiskey Fans of America and you will find that group. There's almost 6,000 Irish whiskey fans in there. And let me say, I think you'll agree, maybe the finest community of Irish whiskey fans in the world. And a lovely community indeed. So on that note, I let you go. Sláinte. We will talk to you all soon. Thanks a million for joining me. I love all the support that you're giving Irish whiskey. We'll chat to you in the Facebook group. Have a great weekend. Sláinte, folks.